This is why Vivi is often touted as people's favorite character in the game. There's just like so much for a little kid who barely is even coming to understand what life is about and even understand who he is, and then realizing you have this really limited time here, and you also have to make big decisions like this, like really like tough moral, ethical choices. The mist is causing Brahne to do all these terrible things that I've witnessed, and all these people die, and all these people hate me because of it. I must stop the source of that, but stopping the source of that also means stopping the production of others like me. Like, that's crazy to put on into the hands of, I don't know, is he 8? Is he like the equivalents? Like, obviously he's not even 1, but like
he acts as though he was 8 or 9, maybe something like that.
Something that appears to be something like a young child has to make decisions like that. Or at least. Okay, last time we left off at the Outer Continent. We arrived. There's no mist there. Well, there's kind of some, a little bit.
There's some in a particular place.
It's the Iifa Tree.
Yes.
The roots of the Iifa Tree, but we're not there quite yet.
But the rest of the continent doesn't have it, and Zidane even remarks, like, whoa, no mist.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Pretty shocking for him.
So, let's just talk about areas here. So we've got Conde Petie, or I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Conde Petie, but that's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever it's called over there. And then you got the Black Mage Village in the forest.
Yeah.
Then you have Madain Sari, kind of on the other side, and then the Iifa Tree. So those are kind of the 4 main areas that we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to try to get all the way through the end of Disc 2, which concludes with another attack by Queen Brahne at the Iifa Tree as like a set piece, but she's attacking Kuja, who I guess had baited her there to try and attack him. Another summon, and crazy stuff happens. So that's where we're leading up to today. So I guess we start with Conde Petie.
Conde Petie. And this is the dwarf settlement.
Yeah.
Right? It's a fun place because the dwarfs are funny. They don't really mind you being there, but they don't really like trust you either. Like they don't like you very much. And they've been having some issues. Apparently there's a thief abroad stealing their stuff, and so they're suspicious of any kind of outside, people from the outside coming into their group. Which is funny, but they'll tolerate you being there for a while. It's really funny actually. They end up letting you in on one of their sacred ceremonies just because they were one person short. And the funny thing about that, this is the marriage thing. Funny thing about that is that then you suggest that Vivi and Quina undergo the same ceremony, and so it's 101. So it's like they're actually off balance again. We totally threw the whole thing off balance. But this was a fun place. It's a fun little place. The way that they talk is funny. Sometimes you'll meet people who are like, "Oh, I don't trust you," and it's like, "Hey, we haven't done anything wrong. Like, there's nothing going on here," and they just look at you and they're just like, I think one of the quotes I took down is, "You're sinister looking." Like, no, because it was, if I'm not the thief, I'm not the thief, right? But anyways, it's really funny.
Is this supposed to be an Irish accent or a Scottish accent?
I would guess Scottish. Yes, yeah, it feels a little more Scottish, although they're pretty good, big similarities between the two.
Sure.
Their big saying is rally ho.
Rally ho.
And rally ho actually comes from, I think it's Final Fantasy IV. There are some dwarves.
Dwarves in the series going back a long way.
There are dwarves in the first game, but I don't remember if they said anything like that, if they had a catchphrase or not.
I just played it. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think they had something like that.
So the way that this was translated into the English is tally-ho, is what they would say in Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah.
But in the Japanese, it's rari-ho. It's with an R. And so in the FF9, they throw in rally-ho, and that's what it is. And it's so funny because it's like, you're not allowed to enter unless you say rally-ho. Like, we refuse to do it. And so finally we say rally-ho, like this unenthusiastic, like, murmur. Yeah. And they're like, great, welcome into our village. And the guards move away, and then we can walk right in. All we had to do was just say rally-ho. It's funny. It's like a huge part of their culture.
the pinty hats, the
Yes.
pointy hats for the black mages, how they
Pinty
refer to
heads.
them.
Yeah, the way they talk is so funny.
What did you think about kind of that heavy accent being like baked into the text there?
I remember reading this when I was younger. What was I, 17 or so when I first played this game? And like I love it now, right now. When I was younger, I had a hard time understanding what they were saying. It was actually very difficult because I didn't get the Scottishness. To me, it was just, this is weird. And it doesn't really make sense to me, right? So it doesn't work. There was a little bit too much work that I had to do in order to read this. I would guess somebody learning English as a second language would, playing this game in English, would come across some severe difficulties in this particular portion of the game. But I really like it now because when you're text-based, there's only so much you can do to convey that these people talk different. They are different. There's a separation here. There's a different culture that we're dealing with here. And sometimes that can be easily done in the text, just like by putting one word in, like the Mughals, like Kupo. And it's like, okay, they're weird because they say Kupo at the end of everything. But other than that, everything they say is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
But the fact is that some people who have heavy accents are legitimately difficult to understand. And when you're doing a game in text, you just kind of have to make the text difficult to understand if you're trying to convey that same type of thing.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, this is something I've just in general. I'm not talking about like Final Fantasy IX specifically, but I see people kind of debate about how far you should go in giving accents to characters in written text.
Yeah.
Just for like legibility, ease, like flow of reading and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know that like another place where this has come up in discussions I've had with people is in Chrono Cross. They have a whole system like basically in place that will, depending on which character you have with you delivering that line, they will say the line differently based on the accent of that character. So it's like a system built into the game to change the text based on who says it. Because there's so many characters in that game, and you may have this character and not that one, but one or the other of them will deliver that same line, but it will change the text, how it's read based on who is saying it.
Okay.
Which is really pretty advanced stuff. I mean, it's pretty cool that they went through that. But there were some characters in particular that people found annoying to read in Chrono Cross for that reason.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I don't know. For me, at least here in this instance, I really like it. I think it's really charming and funny.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
The whole accent thing is actually, it's easier to convey in Japanese than it is in English.
Really?
In Japanese, they just have the 5 vowels, right? It's a, I, u, e, o. There isn't like a or an I or an, like they don't have a lot of the vowel sounds that we have in English. And so like with the Scottish accent, they are changing the vowels. That's what's happening, right? Like the pinty hits or whatever it is, however they say it. It's like, okay, the vowels have changed there, but that's not typically how it goes in the Japanese. In Japanese, the vowels stay the same, but they can convey a difference in the way that people speak based on just using kind of different words, different verb endings. You can use the Kansai dialect with kind of the slang endings or the playing with the formality levels and the way that certain people from different parts of Japan will have different kind of like a shibboleth kind of like this is how we do it here and the others don't do it that way. And that's easier to convey in Japanese. People can just read something and be like, oh, they're from Osaka, right? Whereas in English, it's just a lot harder. Like one of the only things I can think of in English is like the way that the word color is spelled. In England,
it's with a U.
Yeah, there's a U in there, color. And then in the United States, it's COLOR. It's just there's no U there. And it's like, okay, so once I see the U, I'm like, oh, I know you're from England. Great. But generally speaking, through just the text, it's actually kind of hard to tell if you're talking to someone from England or the United States. If you're speaking to them, you can tell, but through the text, it's not different enough, unless they just reference some specific things that clue you in. In Japan, you can tell just through the text that this person's from Osaka, and this person's from Tokyo, and this person might be from like Okinawa or something like that. You can really tell a lot easier. So whenever they have to do these changes in translation process into English, it's always difficult. They always have to do something weirder than that most people wouldn't expect, right? But I really like this because if you get what they're doing and if you pronounce it right, it's really funny. It's wonderful. But if you don't get it, if you don't get what they're saying, then yeah, it can be very difficult. But yeah, I loved it.
So in Japanese, what accent are they giving the dwarves?
I don't know the specific accent, but generally speaking, when there is an accent at all and people are speaking in a more I mentioned like Quina is kind of more like a Chinese immigrant, like the way that accent would go. Generally speaking, when they're giving people any accent at all, the first one they go to is the Kansai dialect, which is Osaka, Kyoto, Nagoya, kind of that region, right? Mostly Osaka, right? The Osaka Ben slang is considered kind of like the sort of like a southern accent in the United States.
Sure.
For them, they're like, the go-to is just kind of that one because most people in Japan, most of the media you listen to and all that stuff, it's Tokyo centric, right? And whenever there's a weird, crazy, funny person, it's like, they're from Osaka, right? And they're speaking in that kind of way. So I don't know this, but I would guess that the dwarves are speaking in a little bit of a more Osaka dialect.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
As it turns out, the Japanese version of this game gives the dwarves mostly just a very poetic and flowery speech language, and they all say the syllable do at the end of their sentences. So it's less of an actual regional accent in Japan and more of just a maybe more poetic or possibly musical quality to their language, and they all end with do. Now, in the other countries and other localizations, like in German or Italian, they do something similar. It is mostly just putting like musical notes around what they say to show maybe the flowery speech. And then maybe having a little catchphrase at the end. So it really was just that simple.
I was interested in that because, like, I don't know how they would try to portray a Scottish-speaking person in Japanese text.
That's pretty funny.
So I would guess they probably didn't do that. But anyway, I was just curious if you knew what they were doing with that.
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure it's Osaka.
Okay, so a little bit of background on Conde Petie itself. It sort of doubles as a border gate between like the side of the continent that, say, the Black Mage village is at, and then Madain Sari on the other side. You have to go through Conde Petie to get over there. And over to like where the Iifa Tree is, of course.
Yeah.
So it's this sort of single flat building that's shaped like a bridge. And it's built sort of astride two roots of the Iifa Tree. So there's these two giant roots, and it's kind of in between the two of those roots.
Yeah, so it makes like a canyon of sorts.
Yeah. It was chosen according to, or it was chosen for its proximity to both the mountains and the forests that the dwarves consider sacred, for its ample sunlight. Conde Petie receives few visitors, save for Pintihets, traders from the Black Mage village, to gain entry. Visitors must say the dwarves' sacred greeting, Rally Ho, preferably with a wide mouth and a raised hand. Nuts and berries, some of which are brought by Black Mage traders, are a staple food source. Boiled owl, seasoned oglop, fried root beans, pumpkin bombs are some of their popular delicacies. I'm not sure how much of this is like important thematically, but I might as well just read all of it. While dwarves are a recurring race in Final Fantasy IX is the only game where they do not live underground. They live above ground.
That's right, yeah.
Whereas dwarves in previous games have been associated with living and seeing the dark, Conde Petie's culture reveres sunlight. That's true because in the room where like the marriage ceremony takes place, there's kind of like a sunroof there. It's like the sun directly illuminates that particular spot.
It's blessing the union, right? That is a very sun-loving type thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. The symbol of Conde Petie is a kirk boat where Father David Heavengard blesses marriages. Yeah, that's true. Actually, they kind of have now that I'm remembering it, the marriage ceremony is
on a bridge.
Is on like a bridge thing that
Yeah.
almost looks like the city or the village itself.
That's interesting. So there is a microcosm happening
Yeah.
there. It's like you are. Oh, that's very cool, actually.
Yeah, so it kind of has those two root-looking things, and then the little marriage platform is in between the two, which is how the city itself is built.
Well, there is symbolism to be read there. It's like the keystone. The keystone is what holds the bridge, especially a curved bridge like that, in place. And it's like that is the sacred architecture. And upon that is where you read the vows, meaning that the vows and the institution itself, the marriage, is kind of what holds the city together, basically.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And as Great One is bringing up here, he says, I thought it was a boat, like a Polynesian pipe boat. I think that's what a kirk boat is. I don't know if a kirk boat is Polynesian, but it's a similar concept where you kind of have like two longer kind of
yes, like skis.
ski-ish things that float, and then in between that you have like the platform on which the people stand. Or
so
whatever.
it can be both, right? It can be both. It can
Yeah.
have that look in general, but also it looks like the city.
But this is probably like the Western version of that. Maybe Scotland,
Yeah, something like that.
indigenous peoples there had something like that. Or I don't know what a kirk boat is, but
Well, kirk
imagine
means
something
church.
similar.
So, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Well, in the old Nordic languages, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Kirk, like you've heard the philosopher Kierkegaard,
Yeah.
his churchyard, which actually means graveyard.
Oh, yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
The churchyard
then,
is a graveyard.
because the kirk boat where they get married, it would be like their church.
Yeah, sure,
right?
yeah.
So that makes sense. Before the events of FF9, 99 couples had undergone the ceremony, and they needed one more.
Which is so funny because they're like afraid of outsiders, but at the same time, they're like, hey, come to our inner sanctuary and participate in our most sacred ordinance. Okay.
But before that happens, you're there kind of investigating, trying to learn more about the region, learn more about Kuja, find out, okay, what do we do next?
Yeah.
And that's when one of the black mages enters the town, the village, to trade. And Vivi sees him.
Yeah.
And he turns and runs away, and Vivi's chasing after him. And it's like, all right, we got to go chase them down and find out what's going on. Because the black mages is the like number one link we would have to Kuja here and his operations.
If there's black mages here too, then but this one in particular, Vivi was like, oh, it looked different. Like it looked like it was acting on its own and not being controlled.
Yeah.
So it's like once you see something like that, you have to, even just for Vivi's sake, it's like, all right, we have to go. Everything else is on the back burner. We have to go figure out what's going on here.
Yeah. So you head over to a forest nearby. I kind of like this little section too. You have to go where there are no owls in order to navigate this sort of lost woods, which is a little bit of a trope for fantasy stories, but in particular fantasy video games, since like Zelda really. But I'm sure there were others even aside from that. But you got to like navigate these woods. I mean, Terranigma had a
That's right.
a section kind of like that. It's kind of a popular thing.
Link to the Past even had a Lost Woods type place. It's mostly just a maze. But.
Where it's a maze, or like if you go the wrong way, you'll be kind of brought back to the beginning again.
Yeah.
Very popular sort of game area that's used in a lot of.
That's right. Because you go around. There's something like that happens here where you kind of go around one path and then you come back on the other side, and it's like, wait, well, how did we get back here again? But at some point, you're able to actually go to the right, which is where you see the Petie hit.
Yeah. So basically, wherever owls congregate in whatever screen you come up to, you need to go the other way.
Yeah, the opposite.
Go
way.
where there are no owls. So every screen will the owls will move from like one side to the other, and then you're supposed to go that way or that way. And if you do that enough times, you'll eventually come across the black mage running back, and they have like a magical spell that sort of like is an illusion that protects their village.
This was very reminiscent of Final Fantasy VIII.
Yes, they had a very similar thing. Right?
Very, very similar. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's hard to know what's a callback,
Yeah.
The way I understand development-wise, it almost feels like either of these games could have come before the other because they're both being developed at the same time. FF8, maybe, I don't know, it came out earlier, but FF9 and 8 were being co-developed like side by side.
Time, yeah.
And so, it's hard to know if it's a callback or if they both were just like, hey, this is a dope one. And then it's like, well, that one came out first.
Yeah.
And so now it's a callback, but it wasn't meant to be. It was just meant to be a similar idea.
Yeah. So you enter the village. Black mages are all afraid. They're running
Yeah.
away, acting completely differently from the ones we've encountered before. The group breaks up again, as
Of
is
course.
true in every village where you
Every
get
time.
ATEs now.
Which is really good.
So this is some of the most memorable moments, or it has some of the most memorable moments in the game for me. This is where Vivi's character arc really starts to take shape,
yeah.
where he learns about, the fact that the black mages can develop individuality,
Yeah.
the fact that they have a time limit. There's sort of like a short lifespan.
Yeah, like 1 year,
Yeah,
maybe? Yeah,
basically.
very short.
A very short lifespan, and that these black mages, in the course of that year, at some point, they start off very malleable, and then at some point they start developing some differences, individuality, but then they don't live very long after that, and they are still mostly struggling to understand the concept of death and even what it means.
Yeah.
They perform certain rituals like burying their dead, not really understanding
Like
they,
why?
They don't even use the word death or dead, though. They use stop moving.
They stopped,
Yeah.
stopped moving.
Which is sort of a euphemism almost. It seems like that the elder of the black mage is using because he knows they don't really understand the concept,
Right, and
although he does.
in a way, he's kind of trying to keep people from panicking, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where it's like this just kind of happens randomly, but if you've been around as long as he has, you notice the pattern to who showed up first and who stops moving first. But, he doesn't want to upset people, I guess.
Yeah. With whatever time they have, just kind of let them, explore life.
Right.
And that's kind of a really, I think, endearing part of this section for me is you come across each individual black mage and they're kind of just like exploring life in this way where obviously they're very naive and don't understand a lot, but they're like trying to.
Right.
So you have the one guy in the shop who just understands the concept that if somebody says, I ask for the usual, that you're supposed to do something special for that person, but he doesn't really know what to do. And so it's like, if you go in there and ask for the usual, he's like, okay. And he doesn't know what to do. So he's just ruffling through stuff, not sure how he should determine what the usual is.
Yeah.
That allows you to kind of sneak behind and get a treasure like up above him.
Oh, nice.
Can't remember. It's a piece of equipment or something like that. But then you have the other ones who have a chocobo egg, and they're going to try and raise this chocobo.
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
Quina wants to eat.
That's right.
He wants to cook
That
it.
was so funny.
Like, you don't even know how to take care of a chocobo. Like, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to let you. Like,
Yeah.
So they're all kind of, they have their little individual ways in which they're expressing themselves, trying to sort of discover and learn about life. And Vivi goes and talks to the elder over at the gravesite, learns about the time limit, the short lifespan, the fact that they're dying, quickly.
Right. There's like a little graveyard at the end.
Has to kind of come to terms with the fact that his own lifespan probably not going to be very long, doesn't have a lot of time, that's tough, especially for like a little kid. He just got started in life, right?
Right.
But the scene that I love the most is when Garnet and Zidane kind of go to the inn for the night, and he is explaining Vivi's predicament, but he's really explaining his own at the same time. So they're kind of linking Zidane and Vivi as having more or less the same issue, like of identity crisis, not knowing where you belong.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a really memorable scene, and I think visually it's really cool because, you'll have Garnet and Zidane kind of in the bunk bed, like talking to each other, but then it cuts away to Vivi as he's sort of walking around, thinking, looking up at the moon. It's like super beautiful pre-rendered background there. I don't really have much to say other than it's just really well executed as a scene, like visually. The pacing, the dialogue, I think it's all just really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
And the music too.
My next note is the how exactly these black mages showed up here.
Oh, how
Right.
they arrived.
Yeah. And it's the clue that we get in the text is that they kind of escaped from the Alexandrian ships somehow. Or, like, because there are cases in which the cargo was dropped or something like that. Possibly that's what happened with Vivi. But one of them describes in pretty good detail, like, becoming sentient. And it was after they had taken a human life, right? It was like all of a sudden I just woke up and I had blood on my hands and there was a dead person next to me. And I freaked out and ran away, and then I ended up here. Now, I still don't know how they all know to come here and how they all got here. That's interesting. But somehow, maybe they all showed up at once, because no one else comes to this continent, at least through the underground caves that we did.
Kuja goes back and forth, and I wonder if there's more than one manufacturing facility, so to speak. Like, I know Dolly was sort of like turned into one.
Yeah, but it may not be the only one.
Kuja had probably, formulated how they are manufactured before going to Alexandria and even getting that set up in the first place. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but I would assume that even in transporting maybe weapons or transporting, I don't know, whatever they need for the manufacturing or to get that thing going on, they might have, but the airships can't fly across the continent.
Yeah.
Because they need mist. So they would have had to have been going through a similar route, or I guess crossing the ocean or whatever.
Or something like that, yeah.
But anyway, there was probably some black mages involved in whatever that process was.
One of my thoughts was, each time a black mage takes a life, they become sentient. But that's not, we haven't seen that.
No, in other places.
And we've seen them kill a lot of people. Yeah. So that can't be it. But that was kind of my thought. It doesn't seem as though there's a strict rule for when they become sentient. It just kind of seems to happen. And it's brought on by stuff, but you can't always replicate the same circumstances each time. So what would wake up one won't necessarily wake up the other.
Yeah.
But at the very least, that one became conscious at that point. And partly why it's not exactly a year, they don't know exactly how long they can live for, is because it all depends on when you became sentient. You could have been operative for 6 months before you became sentient, and then you only have 6 more months.
Yeah.
You don't have a full year. Whereas Vivi, it seems, became sentient pretty early. There's still the mystery of why Vivi is so small. All the black mages are the same size, height, build.
It's because they're manufactured that way.
Yes. So Vivi was manufactured smaller,
I guess.
Or was a prototype, or there's there's questions still about Vivi. But at the very least, a lot of those questions just got answered. And part of what I really love, this was my favorite moment, because Vivi and Zidane and Garnet were kind of talking, and they sort of decided, like, hey, I think Vivi's going to be happy here. He's probably just going to stay here, and we can move on. And he's found a place to belong, right? The place to return to someday. Yeah. He found a place that he wants to be at. But when Vivi talked to the elder black mage at the graveyard area, the elder kind of told him, like, hey, we all long for home and a place where we belong. Yeah. And you think that it's building towards this is home, this is it. But as he kind of works through a little bit more with Vivi, Vivi slowly realizes where I feel like I belong is actually with my friends on the road in a journey, right? And you get that hint kind of in the village, but I was thinking, still don't know exactly what's going to happen. But as Zidane and Garnet are leaving, and Vivi's like, wait, I'm coming too. And Zidane's like, really? You want to come with us? Like, we're probably going to die wherever we're going. Like, you're coming? And Vivi's like, yeah, this village is really cool, and it's what I've been looking for my whole life, but I'm going to stick with you guys. And he slowly realized that home was the friends he made along the way. the cheesy realization without technically the cheesy punchline of, I didn't realize home was all around me this whole time. Right. And that I actually have enjoyed my time with these people, and I've built good relationships, and I'm just going to stick here now. But he needed to find a possible other home first before that realization was even possible. Or it's like, would Vivi really have been happy just staying in that Black Mage village? He found out some important things, but he'd be missing out on a lot. And a lot of, especially the friends that he has, fostered a good relationship with. And through that, Vivi has kind of realized that But you can't have that realization if he never found this place. He'd always be looking for this black mage village his whole life until he found it and realized, this isn't really what I was looking for.
Yeah, right.
I thought I was looking for this. I'm actually looking for what I had the whole time. And those people actually care about me.
And I feel like Zidane more or less came to a similar conclusion, though he never found what he was looking for.
Well, his story, because he's like, you're having trouble sleeping, Garnet? And she's like, it's really funny because at first Zidane is kind of like, flirty, teasing her a little bit in his, what's the word? Like innuendo manner, right? Where he's just like, hey, I'll sleep next to you in bed if you need help sleeping or whatever. I can't remember if that's this line or not. That was the line back in Linwood.
Before, yeah.
But this time she's just like, no, and she starts musing on her own, and he's like, oh, you want a story? And it's like, that's not what she was asking for. But Zidane's like, I'll tell you a story, and Garnet's like, all right, sure, let's have a story. And so he tells her the story, and you wouldn't know that it necessarily applied to Zidane if it weren't for the visuals of like him. And he has a similar situation to Vivi. He doesn't really know where he belongs. And if you'll take note, we haven't seen anyone quite like Zidane either in this world, right? He's got some characteristics, in particular the tail, that you don't see elsewhere. Maybe the rats have tails, but it's a rat tail. Like, where's the Zidane tail people? Like, we don't know. We don't see them. And so he tells a story about not really knowing where he belongs or where he came from. And it's fascinating. So like you mentioned, we get to see the connection and how similar Zidane and Vivi really are without realizing it. Like, whoa, they're almost in the exact same situation.
Yeah. And I loved the detail where he leaves the group. Because he had said, oh, don't worry, I've done this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Where he's left like the theater troupe a bunch of times.
Yes, yeah. And they always let him back.
And they always let him come back.
Because you think it's a big deal when he renounces, but it's like, he can always come back.
He's done this before. So he's explaining one of those times before.
Yeah.
Where he wanted to find his birthplace. He wanted to find people like him. He wanted to find where he came from. And he went out for a long time. I don't know if they specify how long, but I would assume years.
Yeah.
He went away looking for his homeland, wherever that's supposed to be. Didn't find it. Came back and realized, well, my adopted father who beat me up when I came home. That's where I belonged. I realized that, after that journey. And so he's sort of come to terms with that, has made peace with that. Though, probably still has curiosity. And as he's out, he's going to maybe continue looking, but it's not like something that he feels he has to have because he found that place. Right. Which is an interesting development for him too, based on, where this will end up going here into Disc 3. But I liked that. I liked how the scene was framed to where Zidane is telling a story. It's posed in the initial part of it as if he's just making up a story, a fairy tale or whatever. Right. But really, he's telling a story to say something about Vivi. But in actuality, he's revealing something about himself.
That's kind of cool. There's like a lot of layers happening here.
There's like subtext there that's really nice. And Garnet kind of realizes that by the end, that he's opening up about himself, which is not something he tends to do. He talks a lot, and he's very outgoing, obviously, and flirty with her and constantly trying to talk to her and get to know her better. But this is like a true moment of vulnerability for him where he's really revealing something about himself. And so that's a nice moment. I feel like they've handled that sort of budding relationship between Zidane and Garnet really well. Yeah. It's something that's been really kind of gradual, and it's taking its time to kind of get there, and their interactions are always really good. Yeah, so this was a really memorable one for me. It's one of my favorite scenes of the game, where they're kind of talking and you see Vivi walking around the village and being introspective, kind of trying to decide whether this is where he belongs or not. Like you said, ultimately it's not. Right. At least not for now. He wants to continue moving on with us. So anyway, they don't find out much because these black mages are no longer associated with Kuja. Right, and they don't know any more than we do. They know less than we do. Yeah, they know less than we know. And they basically we have to go back through Conde Petie like you said,
Yeah.
the marriage ceremony is required in order to
Marriage ceremony.
because they have to be married in order to go to kind of a sacred place as part of the ritual,
which is
after
on the
marriage.
path towards the Iifa Tree.
Yeah, the mountain path, right?
Yeah.
In order to access that, so they don't let them pass there unless
Right.
they get married. And
But they
so-
don't marry anyone except for their own people. It makes you wonder how anything happens in this continent. Like how does anyone go through there?
Yeah, unless
right?
you have a silver dragon, I guess you just
Yes.
fly over the top.
Yes. Unless you are very fortunate. Like that.
But
Yeah, that scene is actually really funny too when it
yeah,
happens.
it's so good.
Yeah.
So it's twofold funny. Like as it's written for Garnet and Zidane, it's funny.
Yes, because he's like, wait, well,
he's like,
yeah,
oh, it looks like we're gonna have to get married now. She's like, yes, let's do it. And he's like, wait, what? He was not expecting that, and
no.
so
and he starts.
he's
freaking out.
actually more
Yeah.
nervous about it, really.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Well, now that I think about it, maybe she does like me. Maybe. And he starts like telling himself all this stuff
He's like,
in his head.
I'm such a stud.
And he's like thinking all of this while the ceremony's going on. But of
Yeah.
course, for her, it's just a means of getting
to
through.
get through. Yeah.
And so, he has a few kind of funny, flirty lines along the lines, well, we're married now. She's like, it's just for,
Yeah.
it's just to proceed.
Yes.
It's-
Well, when
that's all
he
it
comes, he's like, so how about that kiss after they get married, right? And she just turns and walks away, and he falls down, and he's like, foiled again, kind of thing.
But then right after that, Quina and Vivi also want to pass through. They'd have to also get married to pass through. So I just love how it's like they pose that idea. The screen just kind of like fades to black and then fades up again, and they're just standing there with like the organ note, and like the ceremony is going, and like they don't say anything, and they just turn to each other, and Keena's just like, "I so happy."
I am so happy. ... The ellipses too. They're doing such good work.
Yeah.
The I ... So happy. You don't know what.
It's one of the
she's
funniest
gonna
parts
say.
in the whole game.
That up to this point, that is the funniest line in the entire game.
It's so funny.
Is I ... so happy. And Vivi's like kind of concerned about it too. And then Quina almost like
Just starts kinda like
she's gonna eat
getting
Vivi,
closer or something
and
like
Vivi
that.
runs away. Oh, it's so funny.
Great stuff.
Which mimics, of course, Zidane and Garnet before. You never know what Quina's thinking. The ridiculousness of the whole scene is just so funny. It's so funny because these dwarves, they wouldn't have done this. Like it doesn't.
No.
It just doesn't make sense on so many levels. But it's happening, and here we are. And okay, isn't it great? I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
It's perfect. It's wonderful scene. The humor in this game is, like I said, it hits every time.
And then the reason why they allowed the marriage is so they can have a round number right at 100.
And then they do
we
another
immediately give them another, so now it's 101. And like, oh crap, now what do they do?
Yeah.
It's just hilarious.
Yep. So as we're about to leave, the thief shows up again. The thief who had been coming through and stealing food and stuff.
And you kind of see behind the counter like a bow. Kind of like
like
moving.
I loved
off.
that. I loved
thought
that.
was funny.
And like the I don't know what you call it, the little ball that the
Kubo.
Moogles have.
They call it a pom.
A pom. Yeah, a pom or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Of the Moogle, of Mog, kind of moving around back there. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
So this is our next party member. She joins us right here because Quina ends up
after this.
go to look for food.
Quina was going to eat her Moogle.
Oh yeah, chasing Mog.
Yeah. It's like legitimately concerning. And even Garnet is like, well, I don't know. I don't think he would eat a Moogle.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right.
They have no idea what Quina is actually capable of doing.
So this is Eiko.
Eiko Carol.
Of the Summoner tribe. Eiko is from the Summoner tribe. And she takes us back to Madain Sari, which is like the village that the Summoner tribe lived in. And this is essentially the reveal. Well, there's two visits to Madain Sari. There's the initial one where, they go back there and Eiko is smitten by Zidane.
Because
and
he
wants to
rescued
cook for
her.
him.
Because remember, she was like stuck on a branch basically and couldn't move. And Mog just leaves her. And then the branch breaks before Quina can eat her. And then Zidane catches her, right? And she's just like, wow, gee, mister, you're really strong. And she really likes him. And from that point on, she's really going after him, and she's trying to slowly gauge his and Garnet's relationship, right? Like, I don't know if they like each other, or maybe they do, but they don't know it yet, so I still have a chance. She is 6 years old, by the way. She is very young.
Yes.
Yeah.
Extremely young. But so she wants to impress Zidane by cooking for him. There's a kind of a fun, I don't know if you call it a mini game. You just get some choices.
It's just a cutscene,
where you can choose how many people to prepare food for.
That's right, yeah.
You can essentially
don't forget to count the Mughals.
Quina, because Quina is the 11th. So you can't forget
that's right.
that. That's an unexpected guest that arrives.
When they get Quina to it, it's hilarious. The fishing. And just
and then, she arrives to give some more advice on cooking.
Very sensible advice, by the way.
Yeah, you need more salt, you need more of this. So anyway, there's different, I think, rewards you get for doing that correctly, for preparing the food for the right amount of people. And But, Eiko is able to see right away that there's kind of something going on between Garnet and Zidane, but it's not really taking hold yet. Just she feels like she has a chance to get in between. So she's going to try to do that. Anyway, this is kind of the what's the term for this? The Japanese tsundere type character,
something like that.
Like the girl who's
got a big attitude.
Yeah.
She's very bossy.
Yeah, that type of character. She's that type of character for this story. But I think so. That's the first time you go there, but then you return there again, and you're going to learn more about the Summoner tribe. They have their Eidolon wall.
Yeah. Like
where
a
it's
little
just
temple.
depictions and kind of like a sacred place, depictions of the different Eidolons and stuff like that. And you're seeing Garnet start to recover some memories.
Right.
And eventually comes to the realization that she is of the Summoner tribe and came from this village.
Right.
We were talking about last week, we're going to revisit the very, very first scene of the game.
Yeah.
The ship on
there's
the rough
two
waters.
People in that boat.
Yeah. And Garnet was one of them.
Yeah.
And it was some sort of catastrophic event that happened here in this village, a summoning gone wrong, that had sort of caused that destruction and had separated her from her biological mother, and she ended up eventually being adopted by Brahne and the king. I don't know if he's named at this point.
I don't think
what his name is. Anyway, Brahne's husband before he died. And became a princess of Alexandria, but was originally from the Summoner tribe. So that's kind of the big reveal for Garnet during this section of the game.
One of the funny things is that Dagger actually kind of gets jealous about the way that Zidane is really nice to Eiko, and Eiko really likes him. But she's just like, "Wow, you give lots of attention to other people, don't you?" Right? And
I think what she says, isn't it something like, "Why are you always so nice to everybody?" Or something like that.
Yeah. And you can take that two ways.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some jealousy happening there. There's actually a difference in the Japanese too. That in the English, it's like, why do you do this? And Zidane's like, are you getting jealous? And she's like, no, of course not. And she kind of, walks away. But in the Japanese, she says, why are you nice to everyone all the time? Zidane says, are you getting jealous? And she says, well, it's actually something that I like about you, right? So she is getting jealous in the Japanese, but it's not taking over her the way that it is more so in the English, where she's like legitimately upset. In this one, she's just mildly upset, like she kind of wants that attention, but she's not legitimately jealous, as in she thinks that Eiko is a potential
6-year-old is an actual threat.
Because that would be a problem on too many levels. For her to be like, I still like this guy, even though that's even an actual threat. Like, okay, that's a little weird. So not to that extent in the Japanese, but Eiko does something to Zidane because she has these poetic one-liners that she's reading out even while they're cooking. One of them, Garnet, is like, hey, that came from Lord Avon's play, the bird. The canary. I want to be your canary.
I want to be your canary, yeah.
Which, by the way, William Shakespeare was born in a place called Avon in England a very long time ago, 500 years ago.
Something
a little
like
less than that. And so there's that. Lord Avon is supposed to be someone like Shakespeare. And they even mention it too. They're like, why does Eiko have books that are 500 years old? Why? And she's actually reading them and she's really young. So part of that is that she is the only one in this whole village. Like there's Mughals, but she's the only one of her kind. And she is very lonely. And so I guess she spends time reading books.
Yeah.
And also she's got some upkeep. She's tasked with protecting the village and protecting some assets in the village and the temple as well. And she also is training. She always calls it training. I'm training to be like a real summoner, one day.
Okay, so here's the note that I took on Madain Sari. It's a ruined village where a tribe of summoners once lived. Despite being populated with Mughals, Madain Sari is the only town village in which there is no Mughal save point.
Ooh, that's
Actually,
right. That's
didn't
interesting.
realize that.
Ah.
There's a bunch of Mughals there, but you can't save.
Huh.
So according to the Final Fantasy IX Ultimania, Madain Sari is located where the pulse of the planet Gaia runs its most focused, and the people of Madain Sari studied the workings of nature and the use of summoning magic. It's interesting that this is in close proximity to the Iifa Tree.
Yes, it is.
And that the roots of the Iifa Tree, they notice this as they're sort of passing through the mountain path, that they see mist there. They see mist sort of in and amongst the roots of the Iifa Tree.
Around the tree.
So they're like, whatever is happening there, maybe that's the source of where the mist on the mist continent comes from. We got to go investigate that. The Eidolon wall with the many engravings of Eidolon still survives to this day. The summoner tribe used to inhabit the mist continent, but after events in the past ended up coming here instead. We will learn more about that later as well.
I actually wanted to bring up a couple lines. First of all, Eiko is really alone. Some of the lines that happen in at the beginning of the game, you see those little character portraits with the words and stuff. So a lot of those lines that come at the bottom are actual lines delivered throughout the game.
Yeah.
Eiko has one here. I don't want to be alone anymore, right? But when you read that line in context, she looks up and she's like talking to her grandpa. She's like, "Hey, Grandpa, I don't want to be alone anymore. Please help me to do this right." Right? She's alone. It was actually her parents died before her grandpa died. So he was the last one. And she wants help. And she basically, one of the reasons why she is so desperately in love with Zidane is because she really just wants to not be alone anymore. And it's really kind of sad, looking at her whole situation. It's like, man, this girl's had it rough, for being as young as she is. But she's saying, help me to not screw this up so that I can not be alone anymore.
Right. That
Zidane
line,
is one of my last
That line
chances.
struck me too.
Yeah, isn't that kind
it's
of like
you got to help me not mess this up.
That's so sad. And especially
really sad.
of a girl of her personality, which is kind of rough and abrasive and maybe only child / only person in village. Like this is how she's the leader of the village. She tells the Mughals what to do, right? And as she brings up later on, Mughals are kind of like fairies. I never thought of them that way in Final Fantasy. But isn't that interesting?
They do refer to them as fairies in this game. Yeah.
And I think that's actually really cool. You could say something similar with like elves or other things like that. But in particular, within the confines of the game, the Mughals are the fairies of this world, right? Funny looking fairies, but fairies nonetheless. Yeah. And so she's pleading with heaven, basically, please. And she thinks it's on her to not screw. If she doesn't screw up, then Zidane will like her and she won't have to be alone anymore. It's just a rough situation for a kid to be in. But it's funny because all of the stuff she does is kind of screwing it up. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't know how to do this, and she is just way too abrasive for most people to really enjoy being around her a lot. Like I say what I think and I do it my way and y'all can go away if you want. I'm doing my thing that I want to do no matter what anyone else says. It's a personality that has benefited her up to this point because she's had to survive alone with only nothing but fairies. But it's one that's not as conducive to being in a friendship with other people. So she's just going to have it rough in multiple different ways. But you can really see in those private moments with her, you can see where her heart is and why she's doing what she's doing and why it means so much to her, right? She really doesn't want to be alone. And so part of that is what she says right before she starts cooking, right? So then they have the whole cooking thing you talked about. And the fishing scene, it's so funny when they catch fish because it's like, all right, I'm going to make my stone fist potato stew. And let's have some fish too. Oh, that sounds good. This place, by the way, Madain Sari, it's not just abandoned, it's desolate. Like there's no plants. It's just rocks, but there's lots of water, which is the interesting thing about it. So it's like something happened to this place because normally a place with a lot of water will just naturally become green after a while, unless this is just seasonal water and it comes and goes. Like Arizona, when you have the monsoon season and there's a lot of water for about a month in Arizona, and then all the rivers dry up and it's just it's gone, and so then you don't have the permanent green. That could be this place, but at the moment, just the rivers are full, everything is just gushing with water, but there's nothing growing, so it's very strange. But there are fish, and there's apparently stone potatoes, so that's cool. It's the best she can do, right? Yeah. And so they're like catching a fish and like, oh, this must be a big fish. And then they lean back and Eiko goes to help the Moogle kind of like pull it out. And you just see Quina just fly up in front of the screen. It is so funny. And then Quina's just like there and it's just like, there is no food here. Like Quina's freaking out. But Eiko's like, I'm going to make food. And this is where you see Quina actually does know.
Yeah,
it's not just catching frogs.
No. And
Quina really does know how to cook.
You can see this. I forgot to bring it up at the beginning of the game. When you're in Alexandria Castle, the very first scene of the game, you can go into a kitchen and Quina is there. Like,
I was wondering
preparing.
If that was Quina or another Q.
I'm pretty sure
person.
It's Quina.
Okay,
like,
that's funny.
Actually Quina. So, yeah, Quina, I think we had said something like Quina or Quina, whatever.
It's
that
Quina,
had never left the Q's marsh.
Yeah.
It's not that she hadn't ever left the marsh, just that hadn't strayed far from it. So I'd gone to Alexandria, maybe prepared for special occasions.
Right.
You know,
as
chef,
a sous
cook,
chef
or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So you can find Quina in Alexandria Castle at the beginning.
Okay, very nice. For whatever reason, whenever I saw Quina, at least in this playthrough, I was like, must be a different Q. But probably the dress is the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they all dress the same. You just never know.
Yeah.
And they all are into cooking, so it makes sense that they'd be there. So, Quina shows up and is like, you have... because you can actually choose how much water to fill up.
Yep.
And this was my mistake, not counting the Moogles as people. Because Eiko lists them off and is like, hey, there's this person and this person and this person and this person. Okay, so how many do we need? And I'm like, obviously, okay, well, I guess add one or two. So Quina shows up and is just like, not enough water. Also not enough fire, right? You only have enough fire to cook for 9. But best to over-prepare most meals when you're looking to entertain guests, because what if they're extra hungry? So Quina says. And so it's like, oh, geez. So 11, I think, is the number you're supposed to go for. Like, okay, fine. But yeah, Quina knows exactly what's going on. And then, Zidane shows up. So you got the fish and the stew, and it's like super delicious. And that's where Eiko is like, starts her advancements. Yeah. With Zidane. It's super funny. But I also wanted to bring up one of the other things you can do here before we go to the Iifa Tree is we visit that Summoner's Temple. Mm-hmm. You can go in there. And there's a Moogle out there who's like guarding it, right? And the reason we're able to go in there is because Garnet says, oh, I'm a summoner too. I can summon as well. And the Moogles are like, oh, great. Then you can go in. I don't know why Zidane is allowed to go in too, but Garnet can go in despite being an outsider because she is also a summoner. And I guess they can kind of tell that. So you walk in, and this temple's been around for a long time. It's designed after the manner of like ancient ruins. And you have like Göbekli Tepe or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you have these pillars that go up. And there was probably a roof at some point that's just not there anymore. Because that's usually sometimes one of the first things to go in these ancient ruins. But you still have the columns, the support columns. And there's 8 of them in a circle. And then you have the circle around the whole thing. The whole room is circular, right? Which is interesting, especially if you're talking about summoning. Or if you're talking about just most mystical things in general. Circle tends, the shape of a circle tends to represent heaven, and a square tends to represent earth, right? So you have the outer circle. Then you have the 8 pillars, which I think represents the 8 Eidolons. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that there's 8. In Final Fantasy X, there are 8. I forgot what they're called.
GF's Guardian Forces?
I meant to say 10, sorry.
Oh.
In Final Fantasy X, there are 8 summons.
The Aeons.
Aeons. I can't remember in 8 or in some of the others, but there are 8 in 10, and this is FF9, and there are 8 pillars going up from the ground, and then there's drawings on the walls. And it seemed to me that there would be 8 summons as well, but I'll double check that.
Yeah.
And then in the very center is a fire where you can light incense, right? And incense, this would be maybe a reason why maybe there was never a roof, or there would have been a hole in the roof, not just for light, but also so the smoke can go out.
Oh, right.
But you light your incense, and incense smells good, and it does 2 things. It creates a natural veil, which is the haziness, the smoke in general. And then the second one is that it provides a good smell going upwards into the heavens, basically, right? And so this is part of their worship, right? They will light incense on one single fire in the middle, which is like the one. So you have the many eidolons, and then the convergence is the one, the fire, right? The sacred fire, right? And that is like the unity of all of the other elements. So that's essentially what this temple means. And you can see representations of this elsewhere. For instance, in Eiko's house, when you're eating the dinner, the windows she has, it's a circle, followed by going from outside in. It's a big circle, and then 8 smaller circles, and then 1 more circle at the very middle, right? And so it's like this is an image symbolic of the temple itself, right? And this is their window where the sunlight shines through. So you can kind of see how that symbol has kind of been used throughout the village in different ways as well. And then also this temple is built on top of a rushing stream that basically looks like it comes out of the ground itself. So this place has a lot of springs, and this one, the biggest one, as far as I can tell, the biggest one comes from underneath the temple itself. And this is also very common for temples to be built on top of water springs or water sources. This was true of the old temple in Jerusalem, that it was built on top of like a natural water spring, but there was like a network of tunnels down there as well. But the water was used for all kinds of purposes. But yeah, for temples to have a water spring or source kind of in the basement or in the bottom area, or just to be built on top of that, it's just, life and water and all that kind of stuff. Sure. And I also should bring this up as well, because this will be a pretty good transition, I think, to the Iifa Tree. Because one of the reasons why a spring would show up, whether this is written after the fact or done because this is written down, but in the book of Genesis, you have a natural spring kind of forming underneath the tree of life, basically, in the Garden of Eden, that the water just kind of came up from underneath. And there's been as far as I can tell, 2 different translations of the word for when the water comes up in the Garden of Eden and waters the place. One of the translations is basically like a spring bubbles up from the ground, right? But another translation says that it's actually God causes a mist to come up from the ground that waters the whole garden, right? And I think that one's actually more accurate. It's just harder to kind of grasp your mind around how that works. And so typically we just say, it's a spring of water that contributes to the like the streams and the 4 streams that flow out from the Garden of Eden. Right. But the fact that the tree of life was built on top of a mist source in the Hebrew scriptures is interesting.
It seems to be not a coincidence that was actually a direct inspiration.
So a lot of the tree of life stuff that we see with the Iifa tree, it's a cognate almost directly to the Garden of Eden tree of life and even the Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the old tree of life, right. And many others. The Maya had a tree of life center, even the Egyptians and India.
Cultures have that particular myth.
Very big deal. Yeah. Very big deal. And even this is actually a thing among chimpanzees. There's something called shrine trees that they've been able to identify, that chimpanzees will treat a certain tree very differently from all the other trees around them. They still do this today, but they'll get a tree, and often it's a hollow tree, and they'll load it with like rocks and stuff, and it'll be kind of like a central tree to their domain. And one of the things that they will do is chimpanzees will get a big rock and they'll bang on the tree, and if it's the right kind of tree, if it's hollow in the right ways, and it can make a sound that's loud, and it's like a territory marker. Like you hit that thing, and if you can hear that sound, then that means you're in our territory. But you go beyond where the sound reaches, it's beyond the territory, something like that. But there is a way in which chimpanzees sort of have, done something similar, where it's like they'll single out a tree, and then primatologists will say that they've labeled it a shrine tree, is what they call it. So that's interesting stuff in and of itself. But this Iifa tree, there's also some like weird stuff going on with it. where it's like, this is a tree of life, sort of. It's also creepy and weird, and there's something off about it. Yeah. You can look at it and say, like, what was it? What was the movie? Castle in the Sky, where it's got there's the floating island, but it's got that huge like tree on it. There's something really cool about that. But there's also something like off about it, right? Like it's also like mechanical sort of, and there's like these, pedestals and things that go up and down. And obviously the mist and the fact that the roots are fully exposed, right? At the whole bottom, you're basically crossing a network of roots to get to the Iifa Tree to begin with. That's not right. That means it's separated from the ground, right? This part should be underground, but it's not. So we see something missing. And then, I don't know what you would call this. The Iifa Tree, it looks like a normal tree, like in the middle. The bottom, you see the roots, then you see the trunk and the bottom of the leaves. But on top of it, it looks like there's like a dome of sorts, or like a stone, like a meteor, or it almost looks like a brain when you're far away from it, because it's got these contours going around it. And it's like you almost see like a brain on top of a tree. And that doesn't look like it should be there, right?
Yeah.
So while you're getting the Tree of Life imagery, there's also something sinister looking about this tree, and especially the way it behaves as well. So, that's kind of my intro to the Iifa Tree and the symbolism there.
Good stuff. Before we transition there, a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, and I think they'll kind of lead into each other. I liked the scene where Vivi and Zidane bond a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, actually, is this when they come back? I can't remember if it's the first visit or the second visit. Doesn't matter. It's Madain Sari. We're clumping it all into one.
Okay.
Where Vivi has just come from the Black Mage Village, has just learned about his limited lifespan, all this sort of stuff. That stuff's bothering him a lot, right? And Zidane tries to kind of, help him, comfort him during that time, kind of gives him some advice about, how to handle this kind of news and how to keep pushing forward in life. It's all really, really good. And then they kind of bond while taking a whiz over the...
That scene is so funny.
Because I think this might be when you return... I believe it's when you return to Madain Sari after the Iifa Tree, because
I can't remember.
Cuts over to... Or not
Eiko.
cuts, but pans over to Eiko.
Yeah.
And she's hearing what he's saying.
But I don't think she had
because
come with us yet.
She had just lost the stone.
I think this is before that.
I think she was depressed about that, right? Or was it when she was trying to decide whether she was going to help?
That's it. She's trying to decide
Tree.
whether to leave her summoning village and come with us or not.
Okay.
That's when this happens. It's right before.
So this is a really... It's just a funny scene, and it's a nice kind of bonding moment. They have so many of these. I think the way that they are treating the characters over this long journey and giving them these nice moments of screen time, especially with Zidane. Zidane's like really having a chance now to bond with every character, maybe outside of Steiner or something like that.
Steiner.
But even they have had that moment of at least mutual respect at this point.
Right before they parted, they finally understood each other.
Yeah.
Right, and then parted. Kind of like Faramir and Frodo.
Yeah.
In the movies, not the books.
So
sort of the books too.
They've done a really good job with that. But what stood out to me here, and I don't know if you noticed this is something that the Final Fantasy series in general does really well. And that is that they reflect whatever part of the story you're in things like the battle system.
Okay.
Each character has their own individual celebratory dance that they do at the end of battles, right? There's different parts during the game that are related directly to what that character is going through, where they won't do any dance at the end of battles.
I don't know.
So
if
as
quite
Vivi is learning about what the black mages when that first came up, and he's like, oh my gosh, was I created like this? Vivi doesn't dance at the end of battles. When Steiner is trying to decide, basically confronted with the fact that Queen Brahne is the one starting the war, and he's having to decide whether to stay with Beatrix and Freya or go with the party, he doesn't do his celebration at the end of battles. He just stands there. So they're reflecting how the characters feel even in places like the combat system. There's little moments of attention to detail like that that are really, really cool that are incorporated into this game.
That's cool.
And that's something that I think the whole series, I mean, we'll talk about it in other games like FF4 when we get to that, Final Fantasy 7 when we get to that. We already have talked about FF6. But they're always very, very good about that. I like that attention to detail. So I just wanted to point that out, that I noticed that. So keep an eye on that as you're playing, or go back and watch, certain sequences of the story or whatever, where a certain character might be under particular distress, and then see how they react at the end of battle sequences. But in addition to that, if when you recruit Eiko and you have that boss fight kind of in the mountain path, if you summon with Eiko in that battle, Garnet's like, oh my gosh, Eiko, you know how to summon. And they have like a whole conversation.
That. Yeah, the first time, yeah.
And so like they do a really good job at reflecting what's going on in the story in the gameplay mechanics in the combat. And this was just a unique kind of cool way they did that in this game.
That is cool. I like that.
So I wanted to mention that. Okay, now pivoting to the Iifa Tree here. It does have mist coming out of the roots. I love that parallel that you brought up with the Tree of Life having a spring or a source of mist underneath it.
It's supposed to be life-giving is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But this mist, something's wrong.
Like you said, there's things that are off about this tree.
Yeah.
Like it's more something else that's tree-like than it is an actual tree.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a tree. It's a thing trying to look and act like a tree, but it's not. It's not a tree.
Yeah.
It's the spiral kind of going down. Yeah, you get on the leaf.
There's like
kind of
a mechanical device,
right?
Yeah, that and it spans like way deep into the planet,
super deep, and the light comes from below, right? Whatever's at the bottom of the tree is emanating more light than above.
By the way, another I thought interesting parallel with FF7. This looks very much like
very good.
The live stream.
Yeah, that's
they're kind of looking over. You guys got that large
green
harp,
yes,
and they're just looking out, kind of down over into what looks like just a pool of green liquid or fluid down closer to the planet's core. And it looks a little bit like like Mako, or not like the live stream.
Like the live stream. Yeah, it looks like that. And I think is Eiko that even comments there's life down there. Something it's alive. They even say the sparkling water is alive.
Yeah.
Right? So live stream, interesting connection. The harp being harps are interesting because harps are just like pure music, right? You don't manipulate, like you pull the strings. It's like a piano, I guess, but that's one layer removed because you're hitting keys. With a harp, each string just does one thing and you just pluck it. It's just like, it's a simple thing. You can just like brush it. A child can play a harp and it will sound beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's crafted just for beauty. But often when we reference music, where our gaze is directed upwards, right? And you'll hear things like with, give me a sec. Pythagoras talks about like the music of the spheres, right? Like the way the planets move, the harmony of the stars and everything. And here the harp is down below, right? There's an inversion happening here that the life is down, it's beneath, and the music is down in the earth and it's not above. But it's hard to know whether or not this is how it's supposed to be or whether or not something has really been screwed up here.
Yeah.
And you get kind of intimations of both, but we will be revisiting the Iifa Tree at some point in the future. But at the moment, it's like, hey, there's beauty and horror here. Things are coexisting in a way that just doesn't feel natural, despite how natural often those things will go together. This feels artificial. It feels artificial, but there is still this natural beauty there as well at the same time. But like the trees are carved. Here's a common recurring symbol in this particular dungeon. It's the spiral. You see spirals all over the place. On the ground, the tree branches will grow out into spirals.
That symbol is all over.
So there's a book that I have called A Beginner's Guide to Constructing the Universe, and it's a really good book. It's wonderful. It just goes through like numbers and shapes and where it occurs in nature versus where it occurs in architecture and other things like that, going back thousands of years. And this is what he says about spirals. Spirals are a sign of growth and transformation through resistance. While their sizes and substances vary widely, nature's spirals result from an interplay of opposites, right? Mm. So that there is, especially with like a branch, that there is something that is keeping it from growing in one direction, and so it turns, but then it just kind of keeps going, right? The spiral, in this case, a spiral can be movement as well. Like think of a slinky, right? You've got basically this movement around, but it's not the same movement every time. It's kind of moving up a little bit each time. If you see a spiral from the side, you'll see a sine wave. Like if you pull a slinky out and just look at it from a 2D, it's like, oh, it looks like a sine wave, just like a respiratory pattern or like the color spectrum or something. But if you look at it from above, it's a circle. It's just a flat circle. And then, if you keep it compressed and far enough away from it, it just looks like a line, right? So that's essentially the motif symbol that we're seeing here in this temple. But there's an inversion on it, which is, it's not even an inversion. It's just usually spirals are going out or they're going up, right? But this one's, you get to that leaf where you're on a spiral that is basically taking you down all the way to the bottom, to like the root of the tree. Well, below the root of the tree, I think. And so you're on a spiral that's going inward and downward, and not upward and outward, if that makes sense. So we finally, reach the bottom of this spiral dungeon, basically. And you know what? I have a lot more notes. Here's another thing. Iifa, likely, I don't think anyone said that confirmed this for sure, but Iifa probably comes from the German, which is actually the word Eve, and it's Eva, and it means life, basically. So Iifa Tree is probably from the German word for something, or it means living. I think Eva means living in German. So something like the living tree or whatever. I don't know that that's coincidental, but it's worth noting that Japanese doesn't really have the V sound. So it's either an F or a B. Often they'll go with the B. There is a way to make the V sound, and it's with the wa, with what they call, what my Japanese teacher called tin-tins. I don't know if that's what they call them. And I don't know how common it is for a Japanese person to actually be capable of making that sound. Yeah. It's not part of any of their words or vocab or writing or anything like that. But my guess is some Japanese people who have learned other languages are capable of making the sound. So I don't want to say they don't make that sound. It's just not part of their language, right? They have no words that require the usage of that sound. But there's a way that they will say violin, and it's for violin in particular. I think that's the only word that I know that they have that for. But it's just not part of their vocab. So Eva can be Iba or Ifa, and in this case, I think they went with Ifa. And by the way, also, a capital I looks a lot like an L.
I know.
Have you noticed this?
Every time I played this game, I thought it was just a lowercase
Iifa Tree, right?
L.
Yeah.
But no, it's an I.
It's an I.
It's not Lifa or Lifa. Yeah. It's Iifa.
Iifa Tree. Yeah.
Now, you were talking about inversions there.
Yeah.
This not being what it appears to be. We've got all this tree of life, at least outward appearance.
Yes, yeah.
But every enemy you fight in this tree, as Great One is bringing up here, is an undead enemy. And the boss of this dungeon is an undead boss as well.
Okay.
So you can cast holy or cure spells, white magic spells on it to do damage. What would typically be healing spells do damage.
Right.
So this is a tree of the undead, really.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
So you can say that's life in a way because it's taking death and reanimating death, but it is not life in the way that we would think of it, right?
Right.
It's not natural life. It is artificial life.
Also, on the word artificial, the music here is really interesting. It's a lot of synth.
Oh, that's true.
It's a really, really strong synthy, almost, again, Final Fantasy VII-esque sound. And Final Fantasy VII uses a lot of synth because it's very industrial and kind of a lot of tech sort of involved in that game world. Particularly in Midgar, they use it a lot there. They'll use more symphonic sounds as you leave and get more into nature. But Midgar in particular has that really symphonic, like Blade Runner-esque kind of like sound, that sort of like 80s vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
And that sound is really prevalent in the music of the Iifa Tree, but it's got kind of this real unsettling, discordant kind of bent to it. So you are in a place that is on the outward face, a tree of life symbol, but everything inside of it, all the enemies you encounter and the music that is playing there feels very artificial or synthetic.
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it's natural.
Right.
Something's off about this place. So the music, I think,
Yeah.
was another good indication of that.
That's very good. I mentioned before that it was Eiko who said she can feel life underneath. It wasn't actually Eiko, it was Mog. And this is where Eiko reveals, Muggles are fairies, and fairies are things that can sense the presence of life all the time. And so when Mog says that, Zidane and Garnet have a conversation, and they're like, did you need Mog to tell you that something feels strange here? And Garnet's like, no, I feel it too. So everyone can feel there's like a very intense atmosphere that just is permeating, and they can feel it themselves. Like, this is so strange. And we don't get to the bottom of it here, but we do get at least to the bottom of right above the little spring there that looks beautiful. And everyone kind of separates for a little bit there. And Garnet kind of stays up top, and Zidane, you're able to kind of talk to her and go down and talk to everybody else. But when you talk to Eiko, she's like, hey, do you want to look at it together with me? Because it's beautiful. It's just beautiful green water that feels life-inspiring somehow.
Yeah.
And Zidane's like, well, I can see it just fine from here. And she kind of is like, no, but you've got to be next to me. Otherwise, it's not romantic. And so you kind of look down. And I don't know if you were, paying attention. The camera tilts down and tilts back up. But Eiko isn't looking at this.
She's looking straight at him. Yeah.
Yeah. She's looking at him. And
She's
he's
looking
like,
and reflected in his eyes.
because she says it's beautiful, isn't it? While she's looking at Zidane. And Zidane's like, yeah, but you didn't even look at it. She goes, that's okay. I saw the reflection of it in your eyes. And this is actually a really important moment because Zidane, he kind of has a line here.
I love his response. It's great.
It's so good. He's just like, wow, is this what it feels like to be on the receiving end of cheesy like hit lines or hit lines? Is that what's the word?
Lines.
Pickup lines. That's it. Cheesy pickup lines. Like, oh, wow, is this what I've been putting Garnet through this whole time?
I loved that.
And it's like, oh, maybe I should lay off and give her a moment and let her rest for a bit.
Give her some space.
It feels weird, and I don't like it, basically. And this is
It's
really
a taste
good.
of his own medicine.
It is.
Not nearly as bad even, but...
No.
Well, bad in one way. It's because it's a little girl, but...
Yes, but Zidane's not like trying to
not
touch...
as persistent. Well, she is persistent too. But not as
the physical.
Sexually charged.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. So it's not as sexually charged, and Zidane really has like brushed up against Garnet's butt several times.
Yes,
now,
right.
and it's just like, okay, is it an accident? Is it an accident? And Eiko's not doing that yet, I don't think. So, anyways, Zidane is you can read his character and some of his attempts to court every female he sees as a negative, to reflect negative on him. And it's in some ways it should. It's like you shouldn't read that and be like, oh, he's doing his, he's trying to sleep with a girl. Like, that's great. You're supposed to be like, okay, Zidane, that's funny, but like you should knock it off, right? Well, this is the moment where his character is slowly maturing to the point where he's kind of like, yeah, I should kind of knock that off, shouldn't I? I should stop like catcalling. And he's not doing it to that extent, but he's just kind of got a taste of his own medicine, and it's going to lead him to grow up, right?
Yeah.
And to finally start treating Garnet with a little bit more respect and a little bit less of his jokes. Now, he is still going to do it, and yes, in Japanese, they are a lot more suggestive than in English. The English is a lot less suggestive. He will still do it, but, at least at the moment, he's kind of getting a little bit of a resolve to stop doing that all the time. Garnet's probably really annoyed by it. Yeah. And if you really want her to like you, that's not the way. That's not how Eiko is not really doing herself any favors here. So it's like, yeah, I'm probably not doing myself any favors either.
Yeah.
I really liked that line. I thought it was really good.
I liked it too. I want to talk about the harp here for a second.
Oh, good. Yes.
Because the other place where we saw a harp was in Clara, which was in a tree of life-like kind of thing that drew water from underneath the ground.
This is good.
And up and
and instead of a mist, it's the dust, but there's something similar. It's a source of something. This is interesting.
The harp
I like this.
with the stone together sort of like created. It was the magic that created that stone. Right. Along with the river dance thing.
Okay.
So this harp, this giant harp they come on, I'm not going to like get more into it right now, but just notice the similarity. There's something there with the harp and the power, the magic that is sort of evoked by the use of a harp.
Okay.
And the fact that all this mist is coming from this tree that is also kind of like not natural and something's off about it.
Something at the deep bottom of it is natural, but the rest of the structure around it isn't.
Not, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, the Final Fantasy Prelude is a harp
Yes.
song. So
Yes.
every time you hit play on your original PS1 from 2002, you're hearing play. I say play. What, power?
Yeah.
And then you boot up the game. You're hearing that harp playing, which is entrancing you at least a little bit into the the world of the game.
We got Six God here is saying this is the second harp that you've seen in the game. Often harps are used in mythology as a way of conducting emotions and the elements,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the one we see in Clara. Keeps the sandstorm play. This is the conductor of, and then he's got a spoiler tag. So, anyway,
We'll see.
Mist, at the very least, seems to be a byproduct of what's going on here. Now,
Yeah.
Soul Cage is the name
Oh, of the enemy.
of the boss
That's right.
fight
So
here.
all of a sudden, everything starts shaking, and something's coming. Garnet, before this, she says, like, this looks like a plant, but it feels more like a machine. That's a line from Garnet, which is really good. But yeah, all of a sudden, it takes a while to get down there. Garnet kind of trips and falls. We got to make sure she's good. But in the end, we kind of show up, and the thing just kind of drops down, and it's a small version of the tree itself, I guess. It's like a little ent.
Yeah.
It's a little sort of tree. And one of the lines, it's so funny because the tree immediately, you know what, let's just go ahead and read the lines. I think you've got the script pulled up, right?
Yeah, so we have the line that you had brought up, which is, I have seen the end of my 1,000-year life, and it is not now.
And it is not
You
now.
cannot stop me. It is futile to even try.
That's a dope line, and it makes you wonder, is this, do I just try to steal stuff and accept that I'm going to lose this fight? Or do I actually try to defeat it? Yeah, you kill this thing. It did not properly see the end of its own life.
Nope.
It's wrong. And that's worth taking note of. The thing that was kind of in charge of this whole operation with creating Mist has an expectation, a view of something, a belief in something that is just wrong, and then it dies because it thought that it saw the future, but it did not accurately see the real future.
Yeah, and this is obviously the reveal that Soul Cage is the one responsible for the production of Mist. And it's not really production, it's a byproduct of something else, is what he says. It's like an exhaust, so to speak, of some other kind of process.
Some other reaction.
So there's some other reaction going on there, and Mist is the byproduct of that. But Soul Cage oversees the physical manifestation of the Iifa Tree and its functions, dispersing Mist over other continents to incense people to war with each other. He mentions how the purpose of like pumping that mist into the Mist continent is to get the
people to start fighting.
Yeah, to get the different nations to go to war with each other. So this is all starting to make sense about Brahne,
Right.
How is it that she all of a sudden just started changing with the appearance of Kuja, and like what is it that changed her nature?
It's probably
Mist, and the fact that there were so many wars in the past on the Mist continent before they all moved above it.
That's right.
And then they had kind of an era of peace that followed that because they were all down there, and that mist, being in that mist, just made you more naturally aggressive and warlike. So when Zidane and his allies learn the Soul Cage is the cause of the mist, they kill it and for a time stop the dispersal of mist over the world. So they seem to succeed in defeating this boss. The mist then goes away because they go back outside. And it's like, oh, there's no more mist in the roots or anything. I think it's
all gone.
I think we've
and they give us a shot of Alexandria too.
Yeah,
just in a little short cutscene, and you see the mist just residing down the cliffside there.
So it seems that the mission was a success. That that they have gotten rid of whatever it was that Kuja was doing here.
Yeah.
So they head back to Madain Sari after that, have a few more scenes, is where Garnet really realizes she was of the Summoner tribe. And there's a little scene where, first of all, I just love the scene in general, the two of them on the boat, and they're kind of like talking, and the boat just kind of like slowly makes its way out of the little cave, and it's just kind of floating out that way. There's like a really sweet moment where she asks him, like, why did you come with me on this journey or whatever? And he tells a story again about some other person and like why. But the ending line of that is, I came because I wanted to be with you, basically. and then the boat just kind of like takes off romantically on that line, like out into the sea. But it's upon looking at those cliffs from underneath that cavern that she then remembers. She has the memory of the boat on the seas.
That's right, yeah.
And the burning of Madain Sari. But then there's like an eye that like opened up in the sky.
That was the craziest thing.
Right. It's kind of mentioned here. I don't remember if it was by Eiko or if it was a memory of Garnet's or something like that, but that there was some kind of, I think it was Eiko. They talked about how there was a really disastrous attempt to summon something, and they had to try and like seal away certain Eidolons because it was like, this is not safe, like no one can control this. So there was some sort of disastrous summoning attempt that happened, and they had sealed the Iifa Tree where they had sealed
an Eidolon there. And that's why there's like a barrier there that you can't get through.
Right.
And Eiko can do it because she can like communicate with the Eidolons.
Right. So anyway, it's basically established that summoners were like experimenting with Eidolons. They're like doing research on Eidolons. Like they're kind of out here basically exploring the limits of their summoning magic, and had summoned something that was not good and tried to seal it away.
It was interesting in the way that it's used, because you first hear about the summoners and it's like, oh, they're trying to be one with nature. As one of the lines, they were trying to figure things out in that way. But then you read, as soon as they start saying, oh, then they started to do research, it almost immediately portends something bad is going to happen, right? It's like, wait, should summoners be doing research? At least the word in my mind is like they started, experimenting with them and mixing things together and just trying to, create chemical reactions and whatnot. Like I'm just thinking that doesn't seem like your role necessarily as a summoner to be doing research. Like that's going to, for whatever reason in my mind, I just think negative thoughts when I think of researching these powerful forces, way more powerful than you. Like we've seen what these Eidolons can do. Oh, yeah. And it's like, ooh, we're going to research them and maybe find a way to put them to our use. And then you wipe out your whole city, because that's what happens when you research things like that. And to turn something natural into just like a research project, just something feels wrong about that. And you can kind of tell, this won't end well as soon as they start referring to it in that way. Like, oh, this is part of my research, you see? Like, no, you're dealing with an alive phenomena, like a living thing, like treat it with some respect.
Yeah. It all comes back to Jurassic Park, right? It's
exactly.
God creates man, man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs, man creates Eidolons. Not creates, but tries to control Eidolons. Yep.
Eidolons destroy man, and then women with Eiko.
Eiko inherits the tribe, the village.
Yeah,
so we learn all that about Garnet. You have that really nice moment between Zidane and Garnet there. Again, I feel like they're really doing a good job of sort of like the kind of slow, steady pace at which their relationship kind of blooms. And then started disc 3, as we'll get into next time. There's another wrench kind of thrown into that. But it's at this time that Eiko gets kidnapped by Lonnie, the bounty hunter from before that we fought in Fossil Rue, right?
With
and
her, like,
she's
animal.
basically just waiting, like just holding her there and just kind of waiting, because there was a jewel that had been stolen.
Yeah, an artifact they were calling it.
Actually, I think I'm misremembering the order of events here.
The jewel was stolen as soon as we get back from the tree.
The Mughals came to the Iifa Tree. And they were like,
and they're
oh
like,
no, the jewel was stolen.
Yeah, the jewel was stolen.
You go back, go downstairs, and she's like, oh no, my grandfather, I freaking told him I'd never leave, and I leave, and the jewel gets stolen as soon as I leave.
Yeah.
So Lonnie, the bounty hunter, was the one who stole that jewel. But this is all, again, part of the plot to get Garnet's jewel.
Right.
She wants the pendant.
Yeah, that's what she actually wants.
So
she's getting bargaining chips, basically.
Yeah, she and again, Brahne is out collecting these jewels. The Desert Star from Clara, this jewel from Madain Sari. She wants the pendant back from Garnet. So she's holding her there, I really liked how they framed this. Is really kind of funny because you can go talk to the Moogle right before you go to the Eidolon wall, and you can have an option to just peek in to see like what's going on. And Lonnie's just sitting there holding her, just like stop moving, stop talking. Like I'm just using you as bait to get them to arrive. They're gonna be here any minute. And she's like, put me down, you freaking like, saying all these, calling her. She calls her a hag, I think is what she calls her, or something like that.
Which is Lonnie. Yeah, that's hilarious.
You old hag or something like that.
Well, she's 6, so everyone's old to her, right?
And she ends up like putting her to sleep to like get her to stop moving and talking because she's being really annoying. Anyway, that was kind of funny. So and this is where Zidane tries to get Mog to be like, drop some courage. I know you've run away now twice.
I know, Mog keeps running away.
But like, you really like, come on, I need you as part of my plan here. And Mog just won't do it. Mog's too much of a coward. So they go running in there, and she's trying to bargain, like, this girl's life for your pendant. And right as about, Zidane was going to, had something up his sleeve, kind of like a trick. But she tells him, no, you don't approach me. Make the little black mage do it. Like, make the puppet or whatever.
And remember, her other directive is to kill Vivi, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so whatever Zidane was planning was foiled by the fact that she was smart enough to realize, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Make the little kid bring the pendant to me. But at that last moment, Amarant, this other bounty hunter character, shows up and does not like the tactics here. It's indefensible to use hostages as you got to face your enemies honorably.
Right. He's very for a criminal bounty hunter. He's very honorable. Yeah, he's interesting, and he was sent out at the same time as Lonnie. Queen Brahne gave them both the same request, basically, of what to do. Yeah. And they're both here, but he's the one foiling her.
Yep.
Lonnie's plan.
And he did say this to Brahne, I mean, back when we first met him, like, my first goal here is Zidane. Like, as soon as I've taken care of that, then I'll go after your pendant. So his priority here has nothing to do with Brahne and the bounty. It has everything to do with fighting Zidane.
Well, he's got a history. Yeah, there's something he needs to pay him back for or something like that.
Yes.
And so, that's right. He's got his own directive that supersedes whatever he was ordered to do.
So, Lonnie's like, what the heck? Like, we're supposed to get this pendant and go back. What are you doing? He's like, that doesn't matter to me right now. Drop the freaking jewel and get out of here. I'm going to even the playing field, and I'm going to like fight honorably, or at least maybe not honorably is the right word, but it needs to be fair. So you have a one-on-one battle, Zidane and Amarant. And in defeating him, he asks that, okay, end it. And Zidane's like, nah, I got the pendant back. That's all that matters, right? Like, you're free to go. And he's totally baffled by this. Like, makes no sense, does not compute. He did not kill me, even though he defeated me. And this intrigues him enough to, like, just follow and try to learn, like, what makes Zidane so strong. But does not agree with, like, any of his decisions. Anytime Zidane shows kind of like that softer side, he's like, I let this weakling beat me. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe I let this guy beat me. But
he's huge, by the way.
Yeah, he decides to follow along and becomes the final party member of the game. But it's all based on being so confused and intrigued by this decision to let him live. And so he's just more or less following to figure out what makes Zidane tick. Like, why is he the way he is? What is his source of strength? I love how there are certain moments where he'll just, they put it in parentheses, so it's like it's what he's thinking. So like he just keeps these mental notes on Zidane as he watches him, as you go back to the Iifa Tree again. Oh, if he's in pursuit of the power of Eidolons, like this might be something that I need to watch out for, or something like that. He's all planning ahead to like whatever next encounter they have, but he's kind of just this other voice as the characters are deciding what to do, that kind of mocks them for their hesitancy, for their what he perceives as weakness, or But we had talked about in the past that we were going to bring up again later the start screen with all the different character portraits and the word associated with them and the little phrase and the differences between the Japanese and the English. And now that we have all the characters, I think we can go back and revisit those. So we had talked about Zidane and Vivi and Steiner and Garnet, but we had not talked about Freya or Amarant or Eiko.
Quina even.
Or Quina, yeah.
Yeah.
So not only are we going to revisit those we hadn't done yet, but there's actually some additional info about the characters we already talked about. So we're going to kind of go back through that.
Yep, it's going to elucidate even more of what this means, specifically to the Japanese viewer. So Freya, the one-word descriptor there in English is despair, and her quote there is, "To be forgotten is worse than death," right? So this is what she is to undergo. This is her fate, to deal with something that she is more upset about than anything else, which is why Zidane, pretending he didn't remember her name, was very upsetting for her back in Lindblom, because that is the worst thing for her. She does not want to be forgotten, right? And this also may even inform part of her inclusion with the dragoons and stuff. She's a very good fighter. She wants to be remembered. She obviously has worked very hard to be as good as she is. And then, so in the Japanese as well. So Freya, it's despair. But the Japanese kanji together, when you just read them, is the word wandering, is what it means. And there's two different readings to each kanji. They both mean to wander, but one of them means to wander around, and the other one means to wander away, right? Oh. There's kind of like a slightly different nuance between the two kanji. And she is kind of doing both, right? She's wanting to wander away, I guess, but really is just kind of wandering around because she's looking for something. Anyways, both of them kind of work, but it works to the word wandering. And then for Quina here, we have indulgence, which is perfect. And the Japanese kanji together is like seeking the path or seeking the truth. This actually has some Buddhist implications, which we're going to talk about very soon. But the other line here in English is, "I do what I want. You have problem?" This is perfect. Queen is just, once again, the greatest character in the game. And then we have Amaranth. And first off, I have to talk about the fact that Amaranth is not the name in Japanese.
Different name?
Even close. The name is Salamander. So his name is Salamander in Japanese. However, Salamander is too many characters in English. And to fit into the slot it needed to, for the purposes of the game, the battle system, all of that stuff, that word was too long. So it was switched to Amaranth. And Amaranth was really Salamander at first, but Salamander in many mythologies around the world is also associated with fire. That is like a fire lizard of sorts. And so Amaranth has this red hair, right? And so having the word Amaranth is like a pretty good alternative to just naming him Salamander, which is what he was supposed to be named. Okay. So anyways, that's the actual name. And then his portrait is arrogance, right? And then his line is, "The only dependable thing about the future is uncertainty," which is very good. The Japanese kanji, when read together, means overconfidence when you just read it in Japanese. So his says arrogance, but overconfidence is more the Japanese flavor. Amaranth actually has reference to a plant, which, as Six God put up in our Discord just now, it's a plant that looks just like Amaranth's hair, which is crazy. It's like red and droopy, kind of looks like a willow maybe. It almost would seem that this was intentional and that he was always meant to be named Amaranth. So it's very strange that his name
Salamander.
was Salamander. Yeah,
that is weird.
And then Eiko's is Solitude. This is her one. And then the Japanese kanji together means loneliness. Right? Solitude, loneliness. And then her quote here is, "I don't want to be alone anymore." So, and she's young. She still sort of remembers like her grandfather died not too long ago. She hasn't been alone for necessarily all that long, like just herself. But it doesn't take long for her to really be, super lonely. All right. So now we get to the most interesting part of all of these character portraits. These character portraits are good, and I like that they did them in English, but there is a specific nuance that cannot be captured in the English. that is a lot more relevant to, I wouldn't say everyone in Japan, but many, many people in Japan who have experience with Buddhism will understand these to be reading in a very different way than just the plain reading of the text. Like lonely, I don't want to be alone. Like that's it. Because all 8 of these kanji pairings are actually like they're Buddhist
tenets,
kind of idioms, tenets. Yeah.
principles.
They're principles in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to read what all these mean. This is something I did not know, but a commenter turned me on to this, and I was able to do some research and figure out exactly what this means in Buddhism. And this is something that you would not know just by, looking up what the kanji mean, or just even if you speak Japanese and you're reading it and you're like, oh, this is the translation. You wouldn't realize that these mean deeper things within the culture to someone who grew up and went to a Buddhist monastery and learned from books, in that culture. This is something that's a lot more difficult to just see from the outside, right? So I'm going to start off with Zidane's. Now, if you'll remember, Zidane's is truth, right?
Yes.
And the word in Japanese,
virtue, isn't it?
Oh, in English it's virtue.
In Japanese.
In Japanese, it's
it was
truth.
truth.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of give the Japanese flavor here.
Right.
So in Japanese, it's truth, and the word is shintai. And Zidane's name embodies the Buddhist notion of true truth, right? It's an ultimate reality that transcends ordinary language and concepts. This absolute truth, or nirvana-type truth, is pure. It's the first truth of existence, standing in contrast to everyday or common truths that we can describe and debate. His journey mirrors the path from common to true truth, and he sheds the rogue identities, relative values, and he awakens to compassion, impermanence, and selflessness. By embracing the unspoken core of being, Zidane moves from playful trickster to a hero rooted in genuine understanding and inner peace.
Right.
So this is a Buddhist tenet and principle. This is not just the word itself and what the word
Right.
means in English.
So when we had kind of been, laughing off the word virtue being associated with Zidane before, there were people in the comments kind of like debating, which particular definition of virtue applies or doesn't or whatever.
Right, because maybe the original Greek doesn't really work. Yeah.
Sure. But I think what is probably more the reason why they would have chosen that word has nothing to do with like the etymology of the word virtue in the West.
Yeah.
And more to do with, I think, that word being chose to represent this principle of Buddhism in translations of Buddhist texts into English. The word virtue being associated with this idea of true truth.
Yeah, yeah.
That being the
truth.
word that was chosen.
Yeah.
But in Japanese, obviously, it's not virtue, it's a Japanese word. So, but what that Japanese word represents is this Buddhist principle. And each of the characters are represented by one of these Buddhist principles. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, and that's really good. And also one of these, because we're saying principles, you could also say virtues. These are Buddhist virtues.
Yes.
Each of these is a virtue.
Very good point.
So that word being put in there could have been an indicator that there's something deeper going on with all these portraits. But you just don't know unless you know.
Right.
So now we come to Garnet, and hers is Junshin, which is innocence. So Garnet's alias Dagger aligns with the Buddhist idea of innocence as a pristine state free from worldly attachments. This Junshin innocence suggests a mind of that's unclouded by greed, anger, or confusion, an original purity that Buddhism holds as humanity's natural foundation. Her evolution is the reclamation of that pure heart beneath royal duty. She learns to trust her instincts and form authentic bonds without sacrifice of her responsibilities. Through this, Garnet balances leadership with open-hearted sincerity, embodying innocence in action. So you're seeing less of the passive idea of innocence that I would just assume of, that you just are innocent. It's a state of being. It's a state to be acted upon that can't really do much. And this is putting a different spin on it, right? There's a way to act innocently, to go forth and to still bravely, face what you need to face, but in an innocent manner. That is, this Shintai innocence that is very different.
It's almost innocent as a verb. Would you put it that way? Like rather than to
interesting,
be innocent, it's like too innocent.
Too innocent, or yes, or
as
innocently.
If it was a thing you're
as
doing.
As an adjective, sure,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, sure. So she just does it. It's a thing that she does and not a thing that she just is passively.
Got it.
So that's very cool. Junshin, innocence. Now we have Vivi here, which is kodoku, or sorrow. So Vivi, his core is bound to sorrow, not mere sadness, but the profound suffering born of separation. One of Buddhism's 4 sufferings and 8 hardships. His struggle illustrates the existential pain of transient life and the fear of loss that permeates every relationship. By cultivating wisdom and recognizing impermanence, Vivi learns to relinquish attachments and transform sorrow into compassionate understanding. His acceptance of life's fragility paves the way for inner peace and illuminates the value of each fleeting moment. So that is the version of sorrow. All of that is what sorrow did not convey in English and does convey to the Shin Buddhist Japanese. So Steiner's is Meishin, which means delusion, and also Ritsu, which means discipline. So Steiner's theme of delusion, Meishin, reflects the Buddhist world of confusion, where ignorance of true reality keeps beings trapped in the 3 realms and 6 paths of suffering. His rigid worldview initially binds him to blind loyalty and a narrow code of honor. Yet Steiner also embodies the concept of Vinaya, which is Ritsu, the monastic rules that bring order and support spiritual growth. As he learns empathy and flexibility, he moves away from Meishin towards the harmony of Satori, proving that disciplined compassion can bring delusion and enlightenment. So he's got like a fork in the road that he kind of needs to choose, right? Because just doing what he's doing can lead him on a very destructive path. But these same principles can also be turned towards enlightenment and towards the path that Steiner seems to be taking now, which did not seem to be the one he was taking before. So he's not reversed. He's altered his course, but is trying to be true to his principles. It's commendable, and those principles are good principles if put to the right use.
Got it.
So there's Steiner for you. Now I'm going to say Amarant here. So Amarant is Kashin, which means overconfidence, as I mentioned before. Amarant personifies overconfidence, the Buddhist warning against excessive truth in one's own strength, knowledge, or affiliations. This arrogance blinds him to deeper truths and risks misinterpretation or deviation from genuine understanding. His arc is the gradual realization that true faith in oneself and others demands humility. By confronting his pride, Amarant learns to temper self-reliance with openness, discovering that authentic power grows from shared purpose, not isolated certainty. And that's the word overconfidence, which in the English was arrogance, right?
Right.
It's just so funny to say that there's a lot of heavy lifting being done by that word that we're just not aware of. We're not aware of all the weight that word is supposed to be carrying.
Right. Because again, this is true of English too. It's like certain words will have different context within whether it's used in a religious context or this or that group. So like a word can kind of take on different meaning under different contexts. So that's essentially what this is. But you just would have to understand the Buddhist sort of context behind how they use that word and what that word means specifically within its teachings to get like what they're going for by attaching that word to these characters. So
now we come to Quina. Hers is Gudo. Gudo that's actually kind of funny now that I'm reading it, but it almost sounds like good, Gudo, but it's Gudo because do means road or path or something like that. So Gudo means seeking the way. This is like core Buddhist tenet right here. Quina's quest for culinary delight mirrors the Buddhist practice of seeking the way, Gudo. The disciplined search for Buddha's teachings and self-growth through training. Just as seeking the law, Guho, invites deeper study, Quina's hunger symbolizes an earnest pursuit of life's essence. Through each taste, Quina learns that savoring sustenance parallels savoring wisdom, and it's less about accumulation and more about attentive presence, right? His/her playful curiosity becomes a metaphor for the disciplined yet joyful path towards enlightenment.
You talked about how core to Buddhism this particular principle is, the way. And you talked about presence. Presence is like a really big part of it. And this is why meditation is like so important, right? It's learning how to be present, be where you are.
Yes.
Keep your mind from exploring things you did in the past or things that you imagine happening in the future.
Might happen,
And worrying and being all anxious about that.
Yeah.
And be where you are right now. Feel the grass on your feet. Feel your breath entering your body. Focus on where you are now is a huge thing in, well, a lot of Eastern religions, but particularly in Buddhism and the practice of meditation. Yeah. So what strikes me about this is the misunderstanding of Zidane about Quina. There's this, because of how Quina speaks, because of how Quina presents herself, culturally very, very foreign to what Zidane and the other characters are used to. They assume lesser intelligence or something like that.
Right. But a lower life form or
what
lower way of
Freya was admiring and maybe not able to articulate for not understanding the principle is Quina is present.
Right.
Quina is always present. And I am always thinking back to life with Fratly in the past.
Or what should I have done? Or what are the mistakes I made? Or what are my regrets?
Yes. Yeah. I am living anywhere other than here.
Right.
And it is torturing me.
Yeah.
And I notice the way that this person goes and smells flowers and is here and now. That is what was being embodied by Quina in that moment. Right. And what I think both Zidane and Freya was noticing it but not knowing how to put it into words, and Zidane just totally didn't get. Passes it off as being, Quina's kind of dumb. See what I mean? You know, like I don't think they're doing anything purposefully or with intention. No, you're missing the point. Real sort of like peace comes from being where you are and not allowing things you can't control in this thing we think of as the past and future affect you in a way that keeps you from moving forward and keeps you from being where you are and experiencing life the way that you should be. So that particular Buddhist principle, I think, is really well realized within that character.
Very good. Okay, so now we come to Freya that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Freya's is whole kol, which means wandering. Freya's dedication to her fallen homeland casts her into a state of wandering, akin to the Buddhist concept of uro, being lost in worldly desires and confusion. Her aimless roaming across landscapes echoes the mind's impurity when claiming after past attachments. Her bond with the party leads her from that defiled mind towards muro, the state free of desire and receptive to truth. And embracing new connections, Freya finds direction and inner clarity, transforming sorrowful drift into purposeful guardianship.
You know, sorry, you just read Freya, but I just had another thought about how bad I think indulgence is as a word for this character now.
For Quina,
yeah. Indulgence is not getting across.
It's surface level and it's not doing any work.
It's just a joke. It turns this entire vignette for that character into a joke, which is funny, and it does apply to the whole I'm hungry all the time, I'm looking for food.
It's the joke of the
character. But it totally misses the Buddhist principle and the walking the path.
The Gudo
completely misses the point of the character in a big way. I think that's unfortunate.
One thing I have here is that seeking the way is 3 words. Yeah. And we don't have just one word. You could say seeking, that's one, searching, maybe. That can apply. That would be better than indulgence.
Perseverance is the closest thing I think. It's not the right word for Quina.
No.
But it's something closer to the Buddhist principle than indulgence.
Than just indulgence. Because indulgence is completely what's the word? The 7 like pride, sloth. I think indulgence is one of them.
Yes.
What is it? There's the 7 deadly sins.
Deadly sins.
Yeah, but there's a word for it, right? There's the gluttony.
It's gluttony.
Indulgence is gluttony, essentially, something like that. Indulgence, basically, it's a net negative. There's a word for this. I'm forgetting it, but it's something that can only drain you, can only be bad for you, essentially.
Right.
That there is no good way to exercise indulgence, right? In and of itself, it means excess. That you're doing things too much. That's what the word means. And there's no way to walk the middle path of doing things too much, right? So by definition, indulgence is just. It's negative.
Yeah.
It can't be positive. But what you're saying here is that there's a whole Buddhist thing here of how this thing, gudo, can be positive. So indulgence is just a bad word.
Totally misses it. And this is funny that 10 minutes ago when we were reading all the words and I said, perfect word for Quina, indulgence, so funny. And now I'm like, no, that's totally the wrong word. It's missing the point.
Yes.
It totally misses the point.
Because Quina's the way of the gourmand, right? Is seeking after a way of being. And there's a way, almost every art, especially in the ancient world, even in the West, every art has like a way, this is an extreme example, but like the Masons, right? They were Masons before they were whatever the Freemasons, what the group is now. Masons were builders. They were people who were perfecting the craft of working with stone and building things. And every group had this. You had different, like a guild of the like woodworkers and stuff like that. And they would have their own like a group, and they would share their trade secrets and try to just perfect the craft. And you can spend your whole life and learn a ton about the world and life just by like sanding wood perfectly, to where it has that perfect feel. And there's, you can create a whole vocabulary set off of like what the perfect smoothness feels like, or what like the Pythagorean, the triangles and all this stuff. And like, how exactly you use wood to what it can be good for and all of that, and how you cultivate the best wood, and gardening is a big part of that. You can see like a way of life forming around this that kind of gives meaning to life itself as well at the same time. And Quina, of course, cooking is one of those. There's a way to like perfectly cook. And I've brought this man up like several times in this podcast, but Jiro from the documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
Sushi maker,
just to look at the way, and especially the way that he brought up his employees and even his own children, teaching them how to do what he does. And it takes them 15 years before they can even do one thing properly in Jiro's mind, to where it's like, you have now perfected this art, right? And how everything that it takes out of you to do this, and the state of mind you have to be in when you're entering into cooking. Obviously, there's a way of cooking that can be a way of life that can lead towards a great wisdom and even enlightenment to some of deep truths of life. And it's just through cooking. Obviously, I can see that, especially in a Buddhist frame of mind. That's obviously correct.
Yes.
But and Quina is pursuing that path. And has even shown to be very useful with Eiko, and really knows just by looking at the water level, like, that'll feed about 11 people, but you don't have enough fire, you don't have enough technical fuel for the wood. Yeah. Like, what the heck? Like, you got to be really engaged in order to really just look at something and see the sufficiency and what exactly is needful here. So obviously, the way of the gourmand is not just a joke.
No,
but it's kind of funny because the Quina's kind of funny, and that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, so I only have one left here, and it's Eiko.
Yeah.
So Eiko's is kodoku, which is loneliness. Eiko's theme of loneliness reflects Buddhism's recognition that each person walks life's path alone. Single birth, single death is the Buddhist saying. So alone at birth, alone at death, something like that. Mm-hmm. While solitude can feel like hell, it also offers the chance to face oneself and pursue inner truth. Rather than deny isolation, Eiko learns to treat it as fertile ground for self-reflection. By combining independence with an open heart, she forges genuine relationships, demonstrating that true connection arises not in escaping from loneliness, but can also lie in embracing it. As someone who likes to be alone a lot, I think you maybe can speak to this. There is an excess of that, but there is also a reasonable place where that is still necessary.
Yeah. this is the thing I've struggled with my whole life. The tendency
Where's the balance?
to want to and to, because there really does, it's deceptive. There's almost a way in like perfecting how long you should spend in solitude or in silence versus like with other people. There's like a whole life study you could dedicate to just figuring out what that balance is, because it's really hard to describe this like natural inclination if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Right. In the same way that it's impossible for me to understand like extreme introverts like need to be with people all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, for instance, like my brother is like the total opposite of me.
Right. It's
In
extreme
most
extrovert.
ways.
Yeah.
So he's an extreme extrovert. I'm an extreme introvert. So, the worst punishment my mother could have inflicted on him or discipline is to put him somewhere by himself, to be subjected to being in a room alone, like a timeout kind of thing,
Right, yeah.
is like torture to him. And it's like pleasant for me, right? It's like an escape
Yes.
from maybe like
It's
an anxious
quiet,
situation or something like that. So I say all that to say that it's really difficult to explain it. But there's a part of me that just like seeks every opportunity. Let's say I get called away on work to go travel somewhere. The tendency to not want to go to dinner with the coworkers.
Oh, I see.
And I need to go back to the room and copy some
I'm
stuff.
busy. Yeah.
I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
But really, I'm just gonna like let the files transfer and just like lay there in silence. Right. the like, and that's like a strong desire. Like, I do not want to go out with you. It's not because I don't like you. You guys are great. You guys are super cool. I don't want to be with you anymore today. I really just want to go like be by myself in the room.
Yeah.
And that would be the worst possible thing for someone like my brother. It would be like the most boring, heinous, like, please, like, let's go do something. Right. So
That's funny.
from someone who has that drive in them to seek solitude or to be alone, there does come a point in how much time you're spending there where it becomes detrimental.
Right.
You start thinking about things too much,
Right.
living not in the present, but in these other places of anxiety and depression can creep in. Even there comes a threshold from which it's no longer helping or healthy or a recharge of the batteries, and it's now turning my mind in a direction that's not good. And that's not a hard line. That's a slippage, as we've been saying.
Yes, that's right.
That's a you don't know
There's
when
a
you've crossed,
fuzzy
but all of
boundary.
a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm having suicidal thoughts, and like I'm like really, really in a depressed place. How did that happen?
Is it because you've been alone for 2 weeks?
Probably. This was like particularly a thing that would happen to me a lot during like COVID, when I was like up 3 to 4 months just like sitting in a box in a room by myself, not seeing anybody. And in certain ways I'm thriving because it's like I'm getting stuff done and I'm like writing my book and I'm like, being really creatively productive, but like not having that interaction with other people does eventually like have really negative consequences even for introverted people. And so it's kind of this constant battle. But there really is something healing about it too. There really is times, I think, where it's important to get away from other influences, just be with yourself. And I think that's what's painful for a lot of people, is being with people that don't want to be with themselves. They don't want to look at themselves.
Often this is the case. Yes.
Yeah, it's like
It's the mirror. It's the whole mirror analogy we've approached several times.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they distract themselves with parties and people and interaction and that. So yeah, there's definitely a balance there. And I have not found it yet, so I don't know how much I can speak to that. But I think it's interesting that Eiko's...
Well, what's funny, because Eiko is not an introvert, I don't think, especially with all the Moogles.
Definitely not.
So you may be able to last a while before you need to recharge. She, I don't think, lasted long.
No.
But even people like her need to learn how to be okay with being alone.
Yeah.
Right. There's something about like when you get to the point where alone with your own thoughts is the worst place to be. There's a famous comedian. I'm forgetting the name. It might have been Mark Twain or something, but to call him a comedian.
Yeah, the writer.
There's a famous person who was sometimes funny who said, people don't like to be alone with their thoughts because they're in bad company. I can't remember what the word is, I can't remember exactly what the wording is. But the idea basically is like people don't like to be alone with themselves because people aren't worth being around themselves, right? You don't want to be alone with yourself because you're afraid of yourself. You don't want to think about who you are or who you could become, because either who you have been in the past or who you will be in the future can often act as a judge on who you are right now, right? Where it's like, I want to be like this. Am I achieving that? Ooh, no, let's think about something else. How did I used to, things used to be great. Oh, they're not as good now. Oh, crap. You can really not enjoy being alone sometimes. But I would encourage you, if you're that kind of person who has trouble being alone, to try to maybe come to terms with yourself and try to find ways or reasons to love yourself and who you are. And don't abandon the past and future ideas and what you want or what you've had, but find ways. I think it's valuable. Alone time is very valuable to me as well. And I like thinking. I speak out loud. I talk to myself when I'm alone. I am that kind of person because despite liking alone time, I am still an extrovert. And so I do, I pace back and forth and I talk. But some of my greatest insights that I've ever realized within my life and within even just analysis of art and stuff that we've been doing here comes to me when I'm alone and I'm just thinking, about stuff and about life and about myself. So try to find a way to do that. Eiko has trouble with that.
Yeah, it's really healthy in certain doses, and that dose varies upon the person.
Yeah, and it probably varies need more, by age too. Like as you get older, you may need more or less time alone. I don't know.
Exactly. Good
so
stuff.
That's all of them.
The whole Buddhist tie-in with like each of those characters. Yep. So we wanted to make sure we went through all of that, because it really does change some of your the lens upon which you view these characters a little bit. Like if Quina, most especially,
especially Quina
turns it from a total joke foil character into actually a very enlightened character,
like a way of life. Like how often have you looked at some people who you may deem animals, or, like your dog or something. Like my dog just lays around all day and is perfectly content with eating food and being petted and just napping, and it's like, this is a good life for them. And you can laugh at it and be like, oh, dumb dog, just, walks around.
That's exactly
or you can
what
be
that
like,
scene reminded
me
of.
They are embodying the fullness of their being in creation. And what are you doing? Like worrying about bills to pay, and that's life? Yeah. Working in a cubicle behind or wherever, like you think you are so much above the dog.
There's that great meme where it's a human and a chimpanzee or a monkey or something like that. And it's like, you stupid monkey or whatever. And the monkey says, you're the only one dumb enough to pay to live on this planet or something like that.
That's pretty funny.
Because every other creature, they don't have the higher thinking.
Right.
But along with that comes being present, I think.
Presence, yeah.
Which was something humans really struggle with, is being present, being where you're at.
Right.
Where are your feet right now? Where are you right now? What are you doing right now? What's going on here? I struggle with that big time. I mean,
me too. Yeah.
My wife, I've mentioned in the past, she likes to go out in nature. And I think the purpose of that is meditative. It's to be present. Sure. It's to be here.
That's right.
See the beauty, be where we're at. Yeah. And I'm here lost in thought, thinking about something else. What are you doing? What are you thinking about?
And it's like, it would take me 30 minutes to get you up to speed to even give you the one sentence of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Not worth the time. Nothing.
Or, maybe I start pulling out my phone and looking at something. Stop, put that away, be here. I really struggle with that. And so, it's important. Let's end this.
Okay.
You return back to the Iifa Tree because Kuja flies there. They went back there basically to wait, because when they left the Iifa Tree,
they were waiting.
We're going to see if he shows up now. The mist is gone. He's going to come up eventually. But then the Mughals come. Oh, the jewel was stolen. Right. Okay, we'll go back with you. Okay, let's go back and wait for Kuja. They see him fly in. They're like, all right, let's go confront him. Let's end this, because that was their whole purpose coming out of Cotton, was to stop Kuja. And essentially, Kuja is waiting for Brahne to show up. So whatever happened between the two of them, she's coming to like attack him now. She's coming to kill him. You're the only thing standing between me and like world domination or whatever. So she has like a ship, like a fleet of ships that are like coming there, black mages, a whole army, just to like attack Kuja. And he's like waiting for her to arrive. He's baiting her into attacking.
Right.
And for a while, even he's getting annoyed because she's like, I'm giving you a target, like fire at me, do it. So he's using the mist to incite those violent tendencies in Brahne. And he's like hoping that it will culminate in this moment. It all came down to this. This was the reason that, you know, he got her involved in the first place. It's for the summoning of Bahamut. So the party does catch up with him and is about to like fight him, but he's like got more important things to do. So he takes off, and the black mages are all, and this is what Chocolate Rob was referring to a couple of weeks ago, I think, with why are the summons so much stronger when Brahne summons them rather than when like Garnet summons them in a battle.
Right.
The black mages are like preparing for this summoning. And in the meantime, some of the others are like aiming and firing the weapons at Kuja, while there's like this essentially
like a ring,
like a group summoning happening here. It's not just Brahne. It's like the black mages together are like lending their power to this tremendously powerful summoning. So that's going on. They're shooting back and forth, and Garnet is realizing that like her mother's in like real mortal danger here and wants to try to save her. So she begs Eiko to, you said there was an Eidolon here, right? Like, where is it? And Leviathan is what they end up finding, but that's not going to help ships on the sea to summon Leviathan.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
This is not going to save my mother.
Right.
Crap.
You need something up in the air.
It's like she was hoping that she could get an Eidolon that could help, but wasn't going to help. So Brahne summons Bahamut, and as she does that, Kuja summons that same eye that appears in the sky, which seems to change Bahamut's loyalty from the one who summoned it to Kuja himself. And so Bahamut had been attacking him, and there's kind of that scene where he gets like cut on the forehead or whatever, and he's like laughing at the blood. Oh, Bahamut, you're so good. You even barely scratched me. You know, the anime villain thing. You barely, it's like, what is it? Dragon Ball Z is very famous for this. Yes, oh, you like summon this giant freaking attack, and it like scratches, it's a little scratch. It's like, oh wow, this might be interesting. Anyway, he has kind of that moment, but he summons that eye, the same one we saw from the flashback in the Summoner Village, that turns Bahamut on Brahne, destroys all the ships, and Kuja seems to disappear at that point.
Right.
Having accomplished something, we're not sure what, but we will learn more about that later. But I think the real poignant part here is that they switch POVs, and I loved this, to Vivi. Vivi, who has every reason to hate Brahne for all the reasons we've discussed for hours up to this point. It's his POV and his words. As he is sitting there, I should feel happy that Brahne is dead. I should feel happy that she was made to suffer this way. But I see Dagger kneeling down next to her mother and crying, and I don't know how to feel anymore. It's a really powerful moment. For a game that so far has been, I would say, leans way more, like 80% comedic.
Yeah.
And more like 20% like dramatic and real strong emotional gravitas. But when it does do it, it really, really lands. And this moment, I think, is really great as Vivi's just kind of walking along the beach and you see the wrecked ships and Brahne's just laying there and she's like, I'm finally free from that terrible greed that had sort of like ensnared me, right?
Right.
And Garnet's, holding her there and she dies in her arms. And then the end of disc who is back in Alexandria. Garnet's going to be the new queen. You see that Beatrix and Steiner survived, and they're kind of there with her. There's going to be some kind of coronation ceremony. And it basically leaves off there, right? That's the last scene. Is the Steiner basically mentions, like, as much as Brahne went crazy there towards the end, the people still loved her and they honored her in death, and they're kind of at her tomb or grave or whatever. Did you have any notes on any of that towards the end there?
Well, one thing that kind of came up as you were talking about Vivi there, we didn't mention that after we stopped the mist, Vivi also had a moment where he was like, no more black mages will ever be made.
That's right. That was great.
Because of what we did, I just ended the lineage of whatever I am, which was artificial to begin with and only was bred for destruction. And but it was weird, but I'm one of them. So
yeah, because he has that line right before you go into the battle with Soul Cage. I will not allow you to create instruments of war anymore.
Yes.
So that's his motivation behind fighting.
Yes. And then afterwards,
realizing afterwards, I just ended the production of what I am.
Of me, yeah.
They're going to hate me. If I have to go back to the Black Mage Village and tell them what I did, I basically ended. I just caused the extinction of our entire species.
It's a genocide of an artificial gene.
Yeah.
It's weird to even think of what it is. But Eiko immediately is like, no, they'll understand. And based on what we've seen from the Black Mages, they would all understand.
Yeah.
They're all going to be like, oh, yeah, I would have done the same thing, dude. Like, we ran away from all of our other kind for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, that's a great point. Vivi is going through so much.
Yeah. And now he sees Queen Brahne.
This is why Vivi is often touted as people's favorite character in the game. There's just so much for a little kid who barely is even coming to understand what life is about and even understand who he is, and then realizing you have this really limited time here, and you also have to make big decisions like this, like really tough moral, ethical choices. The mist is causing Brahne to do all these terrible things that I've witnessed, and all these people die, and all these people hate me because of it. I must stop the source of that. But stopping the source of that also means stopping the production of others like me. Like, that's crazy to put into the hands of, I don't know, is he 8? Is he like the equivalents? Like, obviously he's not even 1, but
he acts as though he was 8 or 9, maybe
something that appears to be something like a young child has to make decisions like that, or at least, if not understanding the ramifications of the choices afterward, understanding them, go, oh shoot, did I make a mistake? I mean, imagine your daughter, someone that age, having to make choices like that, and it's crazy. So yeah, I loved this moment of reflection for Vivi on the beach, where he hated Brahne and wanted to see her suffer, wanted to see her die, but then in seeing it is like, but I see my friend who I care about and how much she's suffering
because
it's just like that's not what this was supposed to be. Yeah. And now I'm all conflicted again. He just lives in constant conflict internally. It's really he's just a really great character. And it's moments like this that make this game so powerful, I think. So is that it? Is
Very
that
good.
It for the end of Disc 2?
Yeah, that's all that I've got.
All right. So we recorded for 3 hours and 20 minutes, but this is going to be cut down a lot because a lot of things happened.
I don't know how much,
interrupted,
but it will.
interrupted a lot of that. Those who were here live got to see, but those of you who not, you get to be saved from
the drama,
not knowing what happened as we ran out of the room all of a sudden.
Oh my God.
Oh no, did someone freaking die? What happened? Yeah, anyway, everything's cool. Everything's all right. But thanks, guys, for watching. I don't know where to play up to for next week, for those of you who are wondering. I will have to think about it and put it in a pinned comment or something like that. Beat the game. I don't know. Just play as far as you can. But I assume that we'll try to get all the way at least through Trino. You have the whole card tournament and stuff.
One of the best parts of the game.
We'll definitely go all the way through that stuff. There's going to be a big event in Alexandria. I'll not say more than that, but we'll probably want to get through that too.
Okay.
So play through the big moment in Alexandria, at least for next time. But all right, guys. See you next week. Peace.